forced to flee to another country by you. I don't know if I can come back in the future. I promise, I won't go against you anymore. No, I'll never appear in front of you again. Just let me go. Humph, humph, humph. You will also have a day when you beg for mercy. Zhou Hao sneered. But why don't you think about those people who were harmed by you? I heard that you raped a female classmate of your class when you were 15 years old. After that, many girls were destroyed by you, and those who were killed by you. Think about it, if it was them, would they spare you? Liang Fengshan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Zhou Hao, I gave you a lot of money to live in New Zealand. He gave me a few $100 million. I will give you all this money, okay? Just spare my dog life. Zhou Hao was his biggest and most hated enemy. He never thought that he would have the day to kneel and beg Zhou Hao for mercy. But now, in order to live, he had to throw away his dignity. Shangguan, if he gives you that money, can you spare him? Zhou Hao turned around and asked Jukin Sitaku. Even if it's 100 billion or 100 billion, it won't be enough to exchange for my father and mother's lives. Jukin Sitaku's eyes were cold. Zhou Hao smiled at Liang Fengshan and said, Liang Fengshan, you heard it too? I have no choice. Who asked you to do so many infuriating things? After saying that, Zhou Hao gave Ratty a look. Ratty immediately took out a pistol from his waist and pointed it at Liang Fengshan's head. Liang Fengshan had never been threatened with such a life before. He even peed his pants and cried. No, please. Spare me. Dad, come and save me. Ratty said with an expressionless face, Young Master Liang, I hope you won't seek revenge on me after reincarnating. I'm just taking someone's life. Zhou Hao sneered. If there really is reincarnation, he will certainly become a beast. At that time, I can kill him once more. As soon as he finished speaking, a gunshot rang out, reverberating on the deep-sea surface. Zhou Hao and Lao Shu did not give Liang Fengshan a chance to beg. After seeing Zhou Hao's look, Lao Shu decisively pulled the trigger, letting the bullet directly hit Liang Fengshan's head. Liang Fengshan's head instantly became a paste. It slowly flowed out of his eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and other places. He also softly fell to Zhou Hao's feet like mud. Jukin Sitaku looked at Liang Fengshan's corpse. The huge rock that had been pressing on his heart for a long time had suddenly disappeared. He raised his head and looked at the starless night sky. He said in his heart, Dad, Mom, your revenge has been avenged. Your souls in heaven can rest in peace now. Ratty was also a little emotional. These days, he had been deliberately arranged by Zhou Hao to stay by Liang Fengshan's side. He had also witnessed Liang Fengshan's extravagant life. In his opinion, if Liang Fengshan lived his life honestly, everything would be fine. However, he had to provoke someone like Zhou Hao. Why did he have to do this? When Zhou Hao found out that they were spies and controlled them with poison, Ratty and the others had a rough idea of Zhou Hao's plan. They had been mourning for Liang Fengshan at that time. The people on this fishing boat were all the criminals that Zhou Hao had hired. As for the old fish and the others that Liang Jindong had arranged to meet Liang Fengshan, they had long been killed by these criminals. A few of them placed Liang Fengshan's corpse into a bag and even placed a few heavy cement stones inside. Then, they threw him into the sea. Ratty gave the $200,000 in cash to the criminals and returned to the white yacht with Zhou Hao and the others. The criminals were about to leave with the fishing boat. However, when Zhou Hao's yacht sailed a few hundred meters away from the sea, a person carried a rocket launcher and fired a powerful missile at the fishing boat. The people on the fishing boat didn't expect Zhou Hao to have such a move. Before they could jump into the sea to escape, the fishing boat was hit by the missile. After the huge explosion and the dazzling flames, the entire fishing boat was shattered into pieces. The outlaws who were used to seeing blood and gore had all become ownerless souls in the sea. The person who fired the missile put down the rocket launcher and respectfully said to Zhou Hao, reporting to the chief, the mission has been completed. Zhou Hao nodded and did not say anything. He borrowed a few Special Forces soldiers from Zhao Dingzhou on this yacht. Of course, these Special Forces soldiers did not know about Liang Fengshan, nor did they know his identity. The less they knew, the better it would be for them. Jukin Sitaku also didn't think that Zhou Hao wouldn't let go of those desperate criminals. This was obviously killing them to silence them. However, he didn't have a knot in his heart. After all, those people on the fishing ship weren't good men and women. Each of them carried a life on their shoulders. It could be said that they deserved to die. It was just that Zhou Hao's ruthlessness shocked Jukin Sitaku. After that, Zhou Hao turned his head to look at Ratty and the Black Widow and revealed a smile. All of you did well this time. Don't worry, I will give you the antidote when we return. Thank you, Mr. Zhou. Ratty and the Black Widow quickly said. However, what do you plan to do next? Continue to be a commercial spy? Zhou Hao asked indifferently. The Black Widow hesitated, but Ratty took the lead and said, if Mr. Zhou does not mind, we want to follow you. The Black Widow looked at Ratty in shock, while Zhou Hao revealed a satisfied smile. Seeing Zhou Hao smile, the Black Widow immediately understood what Ratty meant. Although Zhou Hao had said that he would give them the antidote, seeing how Zhou Hao had killed off the criminals, the Black Widow could not guarantee that Zhou Hao would not really let her go. After all, they knew a lot about Liang Fengshan. Although Liang Shudong had been transferred away from the governor's position, his influence was still there. If he knew that his son had been killed by Zhou Hao, it was very likely that he would take revenge on Zhou Hao at all costs, which would cause quite a lot of trouble. Ratty understood this point, which was why he immediately surrendered to Zhou Hao. Moreover, the fact that he had killed Liang Fengshan so decisively just now was also a form of surrender. However, the Black Widow also felt that Ratty's decision was very appropriate. After all, being a commercial spy was not as dangerous as being a real spy. However, once they were exposed, the companies that were harmed would ruthlessly attack them. Zhou Hao had a lot of money, and his scheming was different from ordinary people. If he worked under Zhou Hao, he would have more assurance than before. Thus, the Black Widow also said to Zhou Hao, we are all willing to follow you, Mr. Zhou. Zhou Hao nodded. However, you are used to doing this. If I let you do something else, it would be a waste. How about this? You help my company set up a security department. Since you are excellent business spies, then your anti-spy abilities should be very strong. In the future, you will help me guard against the business spies sent by others. Also, help me inquire about some business information when necessary. Of course, I won't treat you unfairly. Thank you, Mr. Zhou. Rat and Black Widow said at the same time. Jukin Sataku was also a smart person. He naturally understood that if Ratty and the Black Widow refused, there would not be any good results. Therefore, he was even more respectful towards Zhou Hao, a man whose scheming and age did not match. After walking around the public sea, Zhou Hao, Jukin Sataku, and the rest returned to Shanghai. After returning to Shanghai, Zhou Hao handed a new ID card and the letter of appointment of the vice president to Jukin Sataku. The name does not change, and the place of origin does not change, but it turns out that Jukin Sataku, who had committed financial fraud, had died in prison. You are now the new vice president of the Heavenly River Drink Group. Jukin Sataku took the ID card in surprise. This ID card was real, not fake. However, Jukin Sataku thought that Zhou Hao would use the identity of the prisoner to control him like Liang Fengshan did before. Now that Jukin Sataku had a new identity, Zhou Hao could no longer threaten him. Although Zhou Hao could use many other ways to deal with him, it was still much better than Liang Fengshan. You are different from Lao Shu and the others. Zhou Hao smiled at Jukin Sataku and said, but I also hope that you will not disappoint me. At this moment, Jukin Sataku was deeply grateful to Zhou Hao. For the first time, he felt sincere about working for Zhou Hao. Then he heard Zhou Hao say, I have already bought back the Heavenly River and the assets of the Fengshan Group. As for the integration and dealing with the media, I will leave it to you. After saying that, Zhou Hao handed a proposal to Jukin Sataku. This is the future development plan of Heavenly River. Take a look. You can ask Dai Zhanwang and Yuan Shuang to do the specific tasks. Also, the Technology Development Department is the most important department of Tianhe. Part of it. You have to manage them well. Jukin Sataku flipped through the plan. The more he read, the more serious his expression became. It was a long time before he looked up at Zhou Hao. Boss, this one. This is the new drink of Sky River? Zhou Hao nodded. That's right. As long as this product is released, Sky River will be able to sweep away the decline of the industry and regain the leading position in the domestic beverage industry. Even Coca-Cola and Pepsi will not be able to bear the brunt of it. No wonder you are willing to sell orange fruits to Coca-Cola without any reluctance. Compared to such a new product, the value of orange fruits is much lower. Jukin Sataku said confidently, Don't worry, boss. I will make good work of Tianhe. I will not let you down. Zhou Hao had provided Jukin Sataku with a broad stage. From now on, Jukin Sataku would be able to show off his abilities to his heart's content. After discussing with Jukin Sataku, Zhou Hao returned to the hotel. Liang Xiaobing, Wang Weiwen, Wang Zhonglei, and other people from the North Pole Star had already left Shanghai. They were going all over the country to hold concert tours. They must make Liang Xiaobing the most popular singer in the country. Zhou Hao had also sent Zhang Daniyu to protect Liang Xiaobing, to prevent people like Wu Shihua who coveted her from doing anything bad. Therefore, Zhao Yuqin was the only one who stayed in Shanghai to accompany Zhou Hao. As soon as he entered the room, Zhou Hao saw Zhao Yuqin sitting on the sofa with the floor-to-ceiling window, reading a book. The book was called Art of Love. At this moment, Zhao Yuqin was wearing a milky white satin nightdress. The collar of the deep V collar was. Her proud breasts were displayed very well. The deep gully in the middle could suck in any man's soul. Her right leg was straightened, and her left leg was bent, showing an extremely attractive curve. The silk nightdress naturally slid down to her bottom, exposing his long, snow-white, and delicate legs in front of Zhou Hao. He could also see the lace side of her white underpants under the skirt. At the same time, her long hair casually fell down, slightly covering half of her face, giving people a kind of faintly discernible beauty. Seeing such a stunning beauty, any man had no choice but to be moved. When he came back from outside and saw Zhao Yuqin, Zhou Hao felt that his originally restless heart could also calm down. This was a kind of warmth that came from home. When Zhao Yuqin saw Zhou Hao come back, she gently put down the book, walked over, and thoughtfully helped him take off his coat. Being so close to Zhao Yuqin, Zhou Hao could smell the delicate fragrance on her body. "It's all solved?" Zhao Yuqin asked gently.
Yes.
Zhou Hao nodded. His hands naturally wrapped around Zhao Yuqin's slender waist. Previously, because of Liang Fengshan, our journey to Venice was forced to delay. Now that all the problems have been solved, we can set off at any time. Zhao Yuqin naturally knew that the journey to Venice with Zhou Hao this time would definitely be filled with countless charming scenes. Her cheeks could not help but turn red, causing Zhou Hao's heart to boil. Facing such a stunning beauty like Zhao Yuqin, even though Zhou Hao was used to seeing beauties, it was hard for him to remain calm. He lowered his head and was about to kiss Zhao Yuqin, but Zhao Yuqin slightly tilted her head to avoid him. "Don't be naughty when you come back. Go and take a bath first." Zhao Yuqin pushed Zhou Hao into the bathroom. Zhou Hao hugged Zhao Yuqin and did not let go. He smiled and said, "Why do you need to take a shower? My body doesn't stink. Sister, do you smell bad? It's clearly very fragrant." Zhao Yuqin hurriedly dodged and said in annoyance, "If you are sloppy and slovenly, don't go to older sister's bed tonight if you don't clean up." Hearing Zhao Yuqin's words, Zhou Hao immediately did not dare to push it away and obediently went to the bathroom to take a shower. Zhao Yuqin went to the closet to get a set of clean clothes and walked straight into the bathroom for Zhou Hao. Seeing Zhou Hao standing under the shower and letting the water wash him, especially seeing his tall and strong body, Zhao Yuqin could not help but blush. Although the two of them didn't poke the last layer, they had already seen each other's body and had shared a bed with each other before. Zhou Hao saw Zhao Yuqin's charming red face and even deliberately made a few typical bodybuilding poses. "So shy." Zhao Yuqin pouted and walked out with a red face. When Zhou Hao came out of the bathroom, Zhao Yuqin was already sitting on the bed waiting for him. Seeing him come out, she patted the bed beside her and smiled at him. "Come here." Zhou Hao excitedly threw himself onto the bed and hugged Zhao Yuqin's beautiful body. He said, "Good sister," and then kissed Zhao Yuqin. This time Zhao Yuqin did not dodge. Instead, she skillfully welcomed his attack and engaged in a fierce verbal battle. After a long time, it was not until Zhao Yuqin could not catch her breath that Zhou Hao let go of her. He even closed his eyes and licked his lips. He looked like he was not satisfied and said with a smile, "Sister's saliva is really delicious. It is all sweet." At this time, Zhao Yuqin was at a loss for words. She no longer had the appearance of a strong woman in front of her subordinates. She leaned into Zhou Hao's arms and her heart was completely tied to this young man who was 6 or 7 years younger than her. "Xiao Hao, let's go to Venice tomorrow, okay?" Zhao Yuqin twirled her hair and fiddled with Zhou Hao's chest. "Of course, we will go tomorrow." Zhou Hao's hand passed through Zhao Yuqin's armpit and covered her left breast. He gently played with it. Zhao Yuqin did not stop him and only occasionally snorted. Zhou Hao said, originally, if Liang Fengshan did not come out halfway, our journey in Venice would have been a success. There would not have been a need to drag it out until now. Humph, even if the Lord of Heaven came this time, he wouldn't be able to stop us from going on a trip. Zhao Yuqin was a mature woman, especially since her identity was different. Regardless of whether it was experience or knowledge, she was much more experienced and knowledgeable than other women of the same age. Furthermore, there were always different men who fawned over her. What kind of deep love confession did she not hear? She was not immune to Zhou Hao's sweet words at all. It was as if Zhou Hao could penetrate into the deepest part of her heart and turn her calm heart upside down. Besides, you have been busy for so long. It's time for you to take a break. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "This time, only me and my sister are going to Venice. No one can disturb us. Sister is so busy. Isn't it because of you, you evil brat?" Zhao Yuqin pouted, but her heart was sweet. She asked Zhou Hao, "By the way, how much money did you make this time?" Zhou Hao raised his head and looked thoughtful. He then said, "The money used to buy and sell the Heavenly River and the Fengshan Group is Liang Fengshan's money. That was why this deal did not make any profit. As for the companies that were involved in the stock market, they did not make much profit. There is a total of 45 billion renminbi, which is about 600 to 700 million US dollars. The profit is very low. Compared to the money Zhou Hao made in Southeast Asia and Japan and Korea, this was not much." Zhao Yuqin giggled when she heard that. "You really don't know how to satisfy. How many people can you feed with 45 billion yuan? Also, you said that you use Liang Fengshan's money to buy and sell Heavenly River and the Fengshan Group. But if you sell and buy like this, it means that you didn't spend a single cent to bring the entire Fengshan Group here. I've seen the production equipment and land of the Fengshan Group. There are at least a few billion of them in total. In this way, you've earned nearly 10 billion yuan this time. You're still not satisfied with this?" After saying that, Zhao Yuqin curled her index finger and knocked on Zhou Hao's forehead. However, in fact, she was very proud in her heart. Who in the world could earn tens of billions like Zhou Hao? Moreover, the funds he had were far more than that. If he added up all the funds he could transfer, Zhou Hao had more than 10 billion USD. Which woman did not want the man she liked to be a promising person? Zhao Yuqin was very satisfied with Zhou Hao. Then what are your plans next? Since they were going to travel with Zhou Hao tomorrow, they naturally had to make arrangements for the matters here. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "It is now the end of the year. Before this, I had Song Jiahao and the others set up in Indonesia. Because I believe that at the beginning of the year, the Indonesian stock market will fall again. So I want to make another profit from them." Zhao Yuqin frowned and said, "You said before that if Indonesia had a financial storm, the local Indonesian people might be robbed or even killed. I told Dad about this. In fact, before this, there had been many incidents in Indonesia. In the military, including my father, some Hawk faction generals advocated for the mobilization of the peacekeeping force to suppress it. However, Indonesia has always been a foreign country, and our country has always advocated not interfering with foreign internal affairs. So, in fact, how could Zhou Hao not know about this? In his previous life, after the world-shocking Indonesia Tsinghua University incident in 1998, many people in the country blamed the government for not lending a helping hand to the foreigners. Even the domestic media did not have much news about this incident. But in fact, many people blamed the government wrongly. Including the government was actually very concerned about Indonesia's immigrants. At that time, they opened up many routes to contact Indonesia to bring the local immigrants over. Furthermore, not only Hong Kong, but also Taiwan had also opened up flights to contact Indonesia, trying to bring as many Indonesian immigrants as possible. However, Indonesia's local flights to China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan did not need to take off. Even the China embassy staff in Indonesia was prohibited from leaving Indonesia. China could not forcefully send troops to save the foreigners, or else it would cause the United States and other countries that were eyeing China. The domestic government wanted to do something about Indonesia's victims, but they could not. The reason why they controlled the domestic media reports was to prevent the people in the country from being too agitated, in case they were incited by people with ulterior motives. At that time, Zhou Hao was also very excited about that incident in Indonesia. He even participated in the protest organized by the university students and was extremely angry at the government's inaction. But after working, Zhou Hao, who had more experience, also knew the difficulties of the government. At this time, he said to Zhao Yuqin, "Then what did Godfather say?" Zhao Yuqin shook her head lightly. Those Indonesian people have always been very averse to the local Han people. There were also many incidents in China. Dad said that although he did not like Japanese people, Indonesian people were more detestable than Japanese people. If it wasn't for the domestic and international situation not allowing it, he would have long ago brought an army to flatten Indonesia. Zhou Hao smiled. Old Master Zhao was a true iron-blooded soldier. Although he was old, the hot blood in his heart never cooled down. He heard Zhao Yuqin say, "Dad said that even if he really wanted to teach those Indonesian people a lesson, even if Indonesia really did as you said, even if there was a large-scale blood case of Tanhua, it would be very difficult for the government to do anything. After all, we can't openly send troops." She said to Zhou Hao, "Since you said that Indonesia will have a blood catastrophe after the financial storm, then why are you still involved in their stock market? Aren't you afraid that the economic decline of Indonesia will make the atrocities of China more serious?" Zhou Hao shook his head and said, "Even if I don't do anything, Indonesia's economy will still not improve, and the Tionghoa incident will still happen. Moreover, If the Tanhua incident really happens, and the previous incidents, this is actually the Suharto government scheme. You mean the current president of Indonesia, Suharto? Zhao Yuqin asked. Yes. Ever since Suharto came to power, his government has issued dozens of discriminatory policies. Zhou Hao said, Suharto's government has always claimed that more than 40% of Indonesia's economy is controlled by the Chinese. But these are just excuses to distract the Indonesian people. He used his power to let his family monopolize many industries in Indonesia and constantly nibble away at Indonesia's economy. These are things that cannot be known to the Indonesian people. So Suharto pushed the responsibility to the biggest investor in Indonesia's economy, the local Chinese. Zhao Yuqin shook her head helplessly. Politics has never been clean, especially when it is controlled by the dictator. Zhou Hao said, I heard that from the time Suharto came to power until now, more than 500,000 people have died in the various incidents. Is that true? Zhao Yuqin nodded. According to our country's intelligence department statistics, there will only be more and more. This is no different from another Nanjing massacre. Zhou Hao raised his head and let out a long sigh. Venice is a northeastern city of Italy, because the whole city is built in the most unlikely place to build a city. That was why it was called Water City. In the Water City, the winding water alleys and the flowing clear waves made the city seem like a romantic dream floating on the blue waves. The poetic and romantic feeling lingered for a long time, making people forget to return. Venice was known as the most romantic city in the world. It was dusk when Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin arrived. They saw that the entire Venice was covered in golden waves shining brightly, especially the small boats drifting on the water and the unique European buildings on both sides. It was a suffocating beauty. Women were passionate about romance, so they were completely immersed in it when they saw the beautiful scenery. Zhao Yuqin held Zhou Hao's hand and leaned on his shoulder. She looked at the city in front of her and sighed. It's so beautiful. Zhou Hao smiled. Sister, have you never been here before? Zhao Yuqin shook her head. I always wanted to come in the past, but I never had the chance. Besides, if I came alone, what's the point? After saying that, she looked at Zhou Hao with a smile on her face. That was true. If he had come to Venice alone, he would not feel good looking at his other lovers in such a romantic atmosphere. Zhou Hao understood what Zhao Yuqin meant when she said there was no chance. It was not that the objective conditions did not allow it, but that she had not found a man who could come with her. Since there was such a beautiful scene, the two of them first went to an inn to settle their luggage, then rented a boat called Gangdora to tour along the river. There were no cars in Venice. The most common means of transportation was the boat, and these crisscrossing rivers replaced the functions of the land. The sun was setting, and the hazy night slowly spread. The European buildings on both sides emitted a hazy glow, and the melodious music of the organ flowed in the air. It was really satisfying. Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin sat on the small boat, and the boatman behind them shook the oar, making this Gangdora slowly move forward. Zhao Yuqin snuggled into Zhou Hao's arms. She only felt that Zhou Hao's heart was the warmest and safest harbor in the world. No one here knew them, so the two of them no longer had to worry about them. Xiao Hao, it would be great if time could stop here forever. Zhao Yuqin raised her head and stared at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled and lowered his head to kiss her soft lips. Slowly, the sweetness in them became normal. Zhao Yuqin did not resist nor did she stop him. She just quietly enjoyed the sweetness between the two of them. In the quiet light, the two of them were like other couples, leaning against each other as if they were connected. After sharing a delicious and romantic dinner in Venice, Zhou Hao brought Zhao Yuqin to the most famous St. Marco Church in Venice. As it was already late at night, there were no citizens or tourists in the church. There was only a priest who looked to be in his 50s, quietly looking at the Bible in his hand. Zhao Yuqin allowed Zhou Hao to hold her hand as she walked into the church and asked doubtfully, Xiao Hao, you are a Christian? Zhou Hao smiled and shook his head. Sister, wait here first. Then he walked over to the priest. Zhao Yuqin stood there and did not go over. She just looked curiously at Zhou Hao and the priest talking. The priest also looked at her and showed a kind smile. At the same time, he kept nodding at Zhou Hao's words, as if he had agreed to some of his requests. Not long after, Zhou Hao walked back and pulled Zhao Yuqin towards the altar over there. Zhao Yuqin did not know what Zhou Hao was going to do, but she let him go. Anyway, she would support whatever he was going to do. Zhou Hao held Zhao Yuqin's hand and walked in front of the priest. The priest smiled at the two of them. In English, he said, May God bless you. Marriage is blessed, sacred, and extremely precious. Therefore, you cannot be careless. You should swear in front of God respectfully, piously, and gratefully. Zhao Yuqin naturally understood English. When she heard the priest's words and saw the warm smile on Zhou Hao's face, Zhao Yuqin's heart rippled. She was touched, and her eyes were also covered with a layer of mist. Xiao Hao you. Zhou Hao did not speak, but tightened his grip on Zhao Yuqin's soft and tender hand. The priest then said to Zhou Hao, Mr. Zhou Hao, on behalf of the church, I ask you in front of the supreme, holy, and pure God. You are willing to sincerely marry Miss Zhao Yuqin, obey the commandments of God in the Bible, and live with her with reverence and holiness for the rest of your life. Whether it is happiness, poverty, obedience, rebelliousness, or health or weakness, you will respect her, help her, care for her, and love her wholeheartedly. You will build a family with her for the rest of your life, and live a life of glory and good for others. Are you willing? Zhao Yuqin's heart trembled as she looked at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao faced the priest, faced the various gods behind the priest, and said sincerely, I am willing. This sentence, I am willing, although the voice was not loud, to Zhao Yuqin, it was as shocking as thunder. Tears flowed out of her eyes after all, but there was a trace of sweetness and happiness in her eyes. The priest looked at Zhao Yuqin. Miss Zhao Yuqin, I represent the church to ask you in front of the supreme, holy, and pure God. You are willing to sincerely marry my wife with Mr. Zhou Hao, obey the commandments of God in the Bible, and live a life of reverence and holiness with him. Whether it is happiness, poverty, obedience, rebelling, or health or weakness, you will respect him, help him, care for him, and love him with all your heart. You will build a family with him for the rest of your life, and live a life of glory and good for others. Are you willing? Zhou Hao looked at her. His eyes were full of expectation and hope. Zhao Yuqin smiled slightly, with shyness and the solemn vow of the Mountain and Sea Alliance. She said softly, I am willing. The priest smiled, looked at the two of them with a look of blessing and said, I am honored by the highest Father, the most beloved Son, and the most sacred Holy Spirit to announce that you are husband and wife, and that the people who are married by God cannot be separated. God is with you. Until forever, Amen. Thank you, Father. Zhou Hao sincerely expressed his gratitude to this kind-looking priest. Although the two of them were not Christian, strictly speaking, they were not qualified to hold a wedding in St. Marco's Cathedral. However, this could not be considered an official wedding, but rather a promise with a god as a witness. Secondly, the priest saw that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin were happily reunited and was happy to make things convenient for them. Seeing that Zhao Yuqin's tears were still falling, Zhou Hao gently wiped them away. Older sister, why are you so sad? Isn't it too unfair to marry me? Zhao Yuqin wiped her tears and glanced at Zhou Hao. Of course it's unfair. You don't even have a ring, and you want someone to marry you. Only an idiot like me would agree to it. Zhou Hao chuckled and took out a dark purple box from his pocket. Zhao Yuqin's heart trembled when she saw this small box. When Zhou Hao opened the box, she saw a pair of shiny rings inside. The two rings were thick and thin. They were both platinum-colored ribbons with a bright diamond lingering around them. The diamond wasn't big, but the dazzling radiance it emitted made everyone who saw it feel their hearts palpitate. Moreover, the inside of the thick ring was engraved with two small characters, Yuqin, and the inside of the thin ring was Hao. Seeing these two rings, Zhao Yuqin's tears could not help but flow out. Zhou Hao picked up the thin ring and held Zhao Yuqin's right hand. He carefully put the ring on her ring finger. It was not small, but not suitable. It was as if it was one with Zhao Yuqin. Woo! You little rascal, you purposely want to make others cry. Zhao Yuqin could not help but give Zhou Hao a punch, but her heart was filled with sweetness. After putting the thick ring on Zhou Hao's left ring finger, Zhao Yuqin was already sobbing silently. Zhou Hao held her in his arms and said apologetically, Sister, I'm sorry. I can't give you a proper title through legal means, but today God, old man, will witness it. Sister, you will be Xiao Hao's wife from now on. No one can separate us. Hearing Zhou Hao's words, Zhao Yuqin cried even more happily, completely subverting her image of a mature woman in the past. The current her was completely a little woman shrouded in happiness. Holding her delicate body in his arms, Zhou Hao looked up at the murals that told stories about Jesus in the church. In the past, he did not believe in the existence of God, but after experiencing the life and death cycle, Zhou Hao felt that there might be some kind of magical existence in this world. If there really was a God, Zhou Hao would be grateful to them because they had allowed Zhou Hao to meet Zhao Yuqin, Li Ruolin, Su Lin, and other women. Moreover, these outstanding women were all in love with him. Sometimes, Zhou Hao would think that he had too much luck. It was already a blessing from the ancestors for ordinary people to have one of these women by his side, but he was the only one who took charge of the group. However, that was just a thought. Zhou Hao had never felt any guilt. He only swore in his heart that he would cherish them. After returning from St. Marco's Cathedral to the hotel, Zhao Yuqin's eyes were still red. The boss of the hotel thought that Zhou Hao had bullied such a beautiful woman and almost chased Zhou Hao out. When they returned to the room, Zhao Yuqin kindly took off Zhou Hao's coat and let him sit by the bed while she carefully took off Zhou Hao's shoes and socks. She really looked like a gentle wife. Sister. Zhou Hao helped Zhao Yuqin up and sat by the bed. Zhao Yuqin seemed to know what would happen next, so she slightly lowered her head and did not dare to look at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao looked at her and pulled her hair that was hanging down from her temples so that he could see her stunning beauty. Looking at Zhao Yuqin's shy appearance, Zhou Hao could not help but feel a little funny, because usually Zhao Yuqin was the model of confidence and maturity, and even most of the time she was the one who took the initiative to kiss Zhou Hao. This kind of situation was rarely seen, so Zhou Hao took the opportunity to take a few more glances. Zhao Yuqin found that Zhou Hao had not moved for a long time and could not help but raise her head to look at him in doubt. She saw his mocking smile. With a blush on her face, Zhao Yuqin immediately pushed him and reproached, "You little scoundrel. You deliberately came to bully older sister, right? Humph, I'm not talking to you anymore." After saying that, she turned around and faced Zhou Hao. Of course, Zhou Hao knew that she would not be angry at him so easily. He smiled and went up to her. He wrapped his arms around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. He kissed her round earlobe and said affectionately, "Sister, I love you." Zhao Yuqin's body trembled, and there was no anger in her heart. There was only tenderness and gentleness left. Zhou Hao did not stand on ceremony. He pushed away her hair that was hanging on her neck and kissed it on her snow-white neck, leaving shallow kiss marks. At the same time, his hand was also skillfully undoing the buttons on Zhao Yuqin's shirt. He felt a numbing sensation on his neck. Zhao Yuqin's entire body went limp. She unconsciously leaned against Zhou Hao and could not help but turn her head and kiss him. Very quickly, the buttons on her white shirt were all undone by Zhou Hao, revealing a large piece of snow-white flawless skin. And that touch, a black lace bra that was fatal to men. Her figure was perfect, her skin smooth and delicate. At the same time, her sexy black lace bra was also an exquisite branded product. The rose decorations had some hollowings, and one could faintly see the spring light inside. Seeing such a beautiful scene, how could Zhou Hao tolerate it? His pair of demonic hands immediately resurfaced. Little scoundrel. Zhao Yuqin snorted from her nose. Her eyes were closed and her long eyelashes trembled. Zhou Hao was not satisfied after taking Zhao Yuqin. His right hand slid across the flat and smooth belly and touched the button on Zhao Yuqin's trousers. Before Zhao Yuqin could react, she heard a cracking sound. The button on her pants had been unlocked and the zipper slid down automatically, revealing a lace underwear with the same black rose pattern. It wrapped tightly around her legs and asked about her full size. Zhou Hao's breathing also became rapid very quickly. He was not like an inner expert at all. He could not wait to turn Zhao Yuqin's body around and push her onto the bed. However, Zhou Hao did not pay much attention to her. Instead, he grabbed Zhao Yuqin's pants and gently pulled them off. Zhou Hao took a deep breath because Zhao Yuqin was wearing a pair of black stockings with wide stripes on her legs. And it was a suspender. In addition to the lace bra on Zhao Yuqin's upper body, this black silk bra set would definitely be able to easily force out any man's nose. Even Zhou Hao felt an itch on his nose at this moment. After all, the amber fruit in his body was a young item. It would be very difficult to suppress it even if it was slightly stimulated. He hurriedly circulated the genuine aura in his body to adjust. Otherwise, it would be a huge embarrassment if he really had a nosebleed. After Zhao Yuqin was pushed onto the bed, she stretched out her legs and curled them up. She even gently rubbed them. Qin's eyes were full of teasing. She slightly turned around and laid on the side, using her right hand to support her head. The subtle sound of silk stockings rubbing against each other, as well as Zhao Yu's strong medicine, stimulated Zhou Hao wave after wave. Zhou Hao felt his lips dry up, and his body felt like it was on fire. He thought that if he did not vent it out today, he would definitely be in danger of going berserk. After taking off his clothes, Zhou Hao immediately took off his clothes and revealed his body. His body was very strong, and he had the charm of a male. Zhou Hao caught the panic in Zhao Yuqin's eyes and laughed as he climbed onto the bed. Zhao Yuqin retreated backwards, but Zhou Hao could not help but retreat. He immediately pounced on Zhao Yuqin and laid on her body. Zhao Yuqin was the oldest among the women around him, and her body was also the most mature. Only Li Ruolin and Su Lin could be compared to her. However, Zhao Yuqin was more plump than Li Ruolin and Su Lin, especially her chest. It could be described as a mortal weapon. Crouching on Zhao Yuqin's body, Zhou Hao felt as if he was lying on a ball of cotton. That kind of feeling was indescribably comfortable. He just wanted to lie on it forever and never get up. Xiao Hao, it's too heavy. Light. A little bit. Zhao Yuqin put her hands on Zhou Hao's chest. Although her body had fully matured and her tolerance was much better than those 17 or 18 years old girls, she could not bear Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao, on the other hand, was losing control. He could not slow down because Zhao Yuqin was too tempting to him. After a long time, she finally leaned into Zhou Hao's arms and said weakly, "It's good to be a woman." Zhao Yuqin hooked her arm around Zhou Hao's neck and said softly, "Xiao Hao, big sister will be your woman from now on." Her voice was filled with gentleness, and it also had the feeling of a husband following his husband. Zhou Hao's heart melted when he heard it. Zhou Hao shook his head and said, "No, elder sister is not only my woman, you are also my wife." He grabbed Zhao Yuqin's right hand and gently touched the ring with his name on the ring finger. Zhao Yuqin blushed when she saw the thick and thin rings on her and Zhou Hao's ring fingers. "When did you buy the rings?" "Why didn't I know?" she asked. Zhou Hao kissed Zhao Yuqin on the forehead and smiled. "When did you buy the rings?" "I had already bought it when I promised Sister 10 billion more than half a year ago, because I knew that I would definitely achieve that goal and obtain yours legally." Zhao Yuqin, however, pinched the soft flesh on Zhou Hao's waist. "So it turns out that you were coveting my sister at that time. You brat, could it be that you bought a few pairs of rings and planned to give them to different women?" Zhou Hao's heart trembled when he heard this. He thought that elder sister's intuition was too powerful. At that time, he did want to buy some rings for the woman beside him, but Wang Shijuan, Situ Jianying and the other women were still young. If they wore rings, it would arouse suspicion, so Zhou Hao did not put that idea into practice. Now looking at Zhao Yuqin's crafty eyes that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts, Zhou Hao smiled guiltily and said, "How could I have? Elder sister, I only bought this pair." Actually, there was another reason why he prepared a ring for Zhao Yuqin. That was that Zhao Yuqin was already 24 years old this year. According to future words, she could already be considered a quasi-surplus girl. Furthermore, due to her family background, the men who admired her could be said to be like carps in a river. There were also many who had the strength and courage to pursue her. Most importantly, Zhao Rixin and Yan Xining also wanted to find a husband for their daughter. Dong Qishan was the candidate that Zhao Rixin thought highly of, but his ill intentions were exposed by Zhou Hao, so he lost the opportunity. Zhao Yuqin had told her parents that she did not want to fall in love so soon, but that was only to deal with the two elders. She and Zhou Hao had fallen in love a long time ago. Therefore, Zhou Hao let Zhao Yuqin wear the ring. Other than saying that she had become his real woman, he also wanted to chase away those crazy bees and butterflies to let them know that Zhao Yuqin already had a master. At this moment, after hearing Zhou Hao's words, Zhao Yuqin took a deep look at him and then put her face on Zhou Hao's chest. "Actually, even if you lied to elder sister would still admit it. Anyway, elder sister's life has already been ruined by you, little scoundrel." Zhou Hao lightly caressed Zhao Yuqin's back and secretly sighed in his heart. Zhao Yuqin was the woman who understood him the most. Naturally, she also knew that he had other people by his side, but she always treated Zhou Hao with a tolerant attitude. Just as he was about to speak, Zhao Yuqin smiled and said, all right, let's not talk about this anymore. I was sweating just now. I'm going to wash up." Zhao Yuqin wanted to get off the bed, but Zhou Hao pulled her arm. She looked back in confusion and saw Zhou Hao's naughty smile. "Sister, I didn't have enough fun just now. Anyway, I still have to sweat. Let's go take a bath again." After saying that, Zhou Hao pulled hard and pulled Zhao Yuqin back into his arms. And with a flip, he pressed Zhao Yuqin down again. Xiao Hao, I can't take it anymore." Big sister was so jealous. Zhao Yuqin quickly shook her head. Zhou Hao ignored her and acted like a spoiled child. "I don't care. Sister, who asked you to be so beautiful?" Even Xiao Hao couldn't help it. After the two finished washing up, Zhou Hao carried Zhao Yuqin back to the bed. They hugged each other and slept. When he woke up the next day, Zhou Hao felt an endless amount of energy throughout his body. It was probably because he integrated Zhao Yuqin's vital yin last night, and his body once again reached the best state of harmonizing yin and yang. However, Zhao Yuqin did not have the energy like Zhou Hao. Her whole body was limp as she laid on the bed. Fortunately, she was in good spirits. The charming look between her brows had also added an incomparable charm. A light look could make Zhou Hao's soul capsize. He went to get some breakfast and personally fed Zhao Yuqin, who was tired on the bed, to eat. Zhao Yuqin took a sip of the fragrant milk and pouted at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao understood what she meant. He bent down to kiss her lips, and she passed the milk in her mouth to Zhou Hao. The milk with Zhao Yuqin's sweet and juicy milk seemed to be even sweeter. The breakfast for the two of them was also very delicious. After eating breakfast, Zhao Yuqin, who had yet to recover her strength, felt a little sleepy. She said to Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, older sister still wants to sleep for a while. You go out for a walk first. If there's anything fun, older sister will go with you when she wakes up." Zhou Hao nodded and tucked Zhao Yuqin under the blanket again. "Then big sister, you have a good rest." After Zhao Yuqin fell asleep, Zhou Hao sat by the bed and watched her sleeping peacefully. After half an hour, he left the room. At the same time, he told the hotel staff not to disturb Zhao Yuqin. The sun shone brightly. Venice, under the blue sky and white clouds, was another scene. It gave people a cheerful feeling. Zhou Hao rented another gondola and toured around Venice. At the same time, he remembered the famous attractions and places and planned to come back later with Zhao Yuqin to play. Not long after, Zhou Hao arrived at another very famous tourist spot in Venice, St. Marco Square. St. Marco Square was very open. There were many tourists in the square, and besides the tourists, there were the most pigeons in the square. Zhou Hao did not want to get off the boat. He planned to come here with Zhao Yuqin later to have some fun. However, Zhou Hao saw a familiar figure in the square. She was wearing a white sleeveless dress. She had a pair of jade-like arms and delicate legs, and a wide hat with a blue ribbon wrapped around her head. At this moment, her back was facing Zhou Hao, and she was looking at the governor's palace of Venice. The wind was blowing, and the pigeons around her flew into the air. Her snow-white skirt was also fluttering in the wind. The tourists around her were either in pairs, or they were the size of a family. It made her back look lonely when she was alone. Zhao Yuqin had once said that those who came to Venice alone would definitely be lonely. Zhou Hao got off the boat and walked straight towards her. When he walked behind her, she still did not notice him. She continued to look forward. Zhou Hao also knew that she was not looking at the governor's palace, but at a restaurant over there, as if she was recalling something. Obviously, that restaurant had her memories. "Shuiyun." Zhou Hao called out to her softly. Zhou Hao's voice suddenly rang in her ears. Shuiyun trembled, but she did not turn her head. She still stood there, but her eyes became confused. "Shuiyun." Zhou Hao called again. Shuiyun slowly turned around. When she saw Zhou Hao, her beautiful eyes showed a trace of surprise. Clearly, she was very surprised. Just as she was about to say something to Zhou Hao, her face suddenly turned red and she lowered her head. The greeting that she wanted to say just now was also swallowed back into her stomach. "Why didn't you react when I called you just now?" Zhou Hao smiled. "Can't you hear me?" Shuiyun blinked her eyes. "I thought I was hallucinating just now." Yes, she did not expect to meet him here. Was this fate? Shuiyun thought quietly in her heart. Zhou Hao smiled. However, he was also surprised. When he saw Shuiyun's back on the boat, he thought he was seeing things. However, Shuiyun had left a very deep impression on him, especially the deep loneliness on her body. Zhou Hao especially remembered it. Furthermore, the two of them had an intimate relationship when they were in Hong Kong. That time in the car, Zhou Hao did not know why, but he could not help but kiss her. Therefore, the impression Shuiyun left in Zhou Hao's heart was not to be underestimated. "You came to Venice alone?" Zhou Hao asked casually. He was guessing if Shuiyun had come with Su Jinsheng. Although Shuiyun and Su Jinsheng's relationship was well known, she did not have any feelings for Su Jinsheng, and Su Jinsheng could not be a man in front of her. However, when he thought that Shuiyun might have come with Su Jinsheng to Venice, Zhou Hao felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Shuiyun naturally did not guess what Zhou Hao was thinking. She only shook her head lightly. "No, I came alone." Hearing Shuiyun's answer, Zhou Hao was very happy in his heart. At the same time, he also noticed the loneliness in Shuiyun's eyes and felt pity for her. "What about you? Why are you here too?" Shuiyun smiled and looked at Zhou Hao. "Me? Haha, I came with my sister, but she was a little tired, so she was resting in the hotel. I went out alone for a walk," Zhou Hao answered honestly. Of course, Shuiyun did not know the elder sister that Zhou Hao spoke of. It was not the elder sister that she thought was related by blood. Initially, she also thought that Zhou Hao was here with his girlfriend, and her heart was filled with indescribable bitterness. But when she heard that it was his elder sister, she immediately became happy. Zhou Hao looked at the restaurant over there, and remembered that Shuiyun was looking at that restaurant just now. He said to Shuiyun, let's go over there and have a drink. He Shuian looked over and was instantly stunned. But Zhou Hao had already walked over there, so she could only follow. This restaurant was called Restore QG, and it was very stylish. In Zhou Hao's words, it was very small scale. The restaurant opened a small open-air tea table near the square outside. Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun sat on one of the tea seats. There was also an umbrella on the table, which made it look very comfortable. The waiter walked over and politely asked what the two of them needed. He spoke Italian. The only foreign language that Zhou Hao had learned was English. That was why he could not understand Italian. He Shuiyun, however, used Italian to speak a few words to the waiter. After the waiter left, she said to Zhou Hao, "The turkey coffee and black chocolate cake here taste very good. I also ordered one for you. You wouldn't mind, would you?" "Haha, of course not." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "It doesn't seem like this is your first time coming to Venice, and you even know Italian? That's amazing." Hearing Zhou Hao's praise, He Shuian smiled like a quietly blooming lily. It was quiet and pleasant, and not flamboyant. She said, "When I was in college, I came here with my classmates during summer vacation. As for Italian, it was my secondary course in university. Actually, it wasn't just Italian. She knew English, French, and Spanish, but she didn't tell Zhou Hao because she didn't want him to think that she was the kind of person who liked to show off her knowledge. "You've been to this restaurant before?" Zhou Hao asked. He Shuiyan looked at the restaurant and seemed to recall her past memories. Zhou Hao saw her like this and smiled. "There must be some memories of you here. If you don't want to say it, don't mind. I'm just asking." "That summer vacation, my classmates and I often came here to drink afternoon tea," He Shuiyan said. She held up her fragrant cheeks and said nostalgic. "At that time, we were only second-year students. The four of us were the best friends in the class. Among the three of them, one was from China, like me, from Suzhou. The other one was French, and the other was English. Other than me, the three of them already have boyfriends. However, I know that they weren't serious at that time. They were just squandering their youth. Then one day, we made an appointment. If there's a man we really like in the future who can stay with us for the rest of our lives, we'll come back here with him." When He Shuiyan said this, her face turned red. She gave Zhou Hao an embarrassed look. Zhou Hao naturally knew what she meant. He smiled and said, I understand. I am not that man of yours." He Shuiyan, on the other hand, complained in her heart, "Why are you so self-deprecating? How do you know it's not?" Of course, she would not say such words. At this moment, the waiter brought the turkey coffee and black chocolate cake that He Shuiyan ordered. The turkey coffee in this restaurant was very fragrant and delicious. There was a lingering fragrance on her teeth and cheeks. The black chocolate cake was also soft and fragrant. He Shuiyan's introduction was indeed correct. After tasting these delicacies, Zhou Hao and He Shuiyan began to chat. He Shuiyan talked about the bits and pieces of her studies at Swordbridge University. Originally, Zhou Hao also wanted to share his memories at Fudan University with her. But when he remembered that he was only a high school student in his life, he changed the topic and told her about the famous places he had been to in Jiangsu, Hangzhou, and Yangzhou. "What? You also tried to steal the electricity from the school to cook instant noodles?" Zhou Hao said in disbelief. "Can I?" He Shuiyan's lips curled up. "At that time, the electricity in the dormitory will go out at some time at night. We are very hungry. One of the roommates' boyfriends studied electronic engineering and had once taught her how to steal electricity. So we went to the lamp post outside the dormitory to steal electricity to cook instant noodles." Zhou Hao imagined He Shuiyan and a few girls sneakily stealing electricity to cook instant noodles from the lamp post and couldn't help but laugh. He really didn't think that a young lady like He Shuiyan would do such an interesting thing. Seeing Zhou Hao smile that couldn't help but laugh, He Shuiyan was also very embarrassed and angry. She thought that she had always maintained the image of a rich and powerful lady in other people's family, but now she was so greedy that she blurted out the embarrassing incident of her student's era. Her image was completely ruined. However, she had never told these things to anyone, but now she told Zhou Hao without any reservation. She was very happy in her heart. However, the smile on Zhou Hao's face looked really detestable. She really wanted to reach out and pinch his mouth. I'll make you laugh. What about you? Don't you have any embarrassing matters? I don't care. You have to tell me something embarrassing too." There was actually a hint of coquettishness in her tone. Even she herself didn't notice it. Zhou Hao thought for a moment and said, All right. When I was young, I was about 6 or 7 years old. At that time, in the countryside, the spring festival was very lively. That time, I played firecrackers with my little playmate. One of the children got a few large firecrackers out of nowhere and proposed to play fried cow dung. It's to put the big firecrackers into cow dung. It's best not to choose dried cow dung, or else the effect won't be good. The previous few times the effect was very good, but when we lit the last big firecracker, it didn't explode. At that time, we were hiding in the haystack that we didn't want to, so they pushed me over to take a look. Thinking of the situation at that time, the corners of Zhou Hao's mouth unconsciously curled up. When I walked out of the haystack, an old uncle happened to pass by with a crutch. When he passed by the cow dung, the firecrackers exploded and the cow dung fell on him. Hee, that old uncle raised his crutch and chased me for a long time. I didn't expect him to run so fast. I was almost caught by him. After saying that, He Shuiyun was already hugging her stomach and laughing hysterically. It was a long time before she calmed down and looked at Zhou Hao with amusement. So it turns out that you were already so bad when you were young. That old uncle is so pitiful. Recalling the scene of that old uncle covered in cow dung chasing after Zhou Hao with a crutch, He Shuiyun couldn't help but laugh again. Have you laughed enough? At that time, I was still young and didn't know what to do. Zhou Hao said helplessly. In order to change the topic, Zhou Hao asked He Shuiyun, by the way, Shuiyun, you have been here before. Do you know what's fun here? He Shuiyun stopped smiling as expected. She tilted her head and thought for a while. Then she said to Zhou Hao, yes. I wonder if you dare to go? Don't try to goad me. Tell me quickly. Zhou Hao smiled. I remember there was an underground casino near the train station, but I don't know if it's still there. He Shuiyun said. Zhou Hao said, it is not far from here. Let's go and take a look. Zhou Hao was not unfamiliar with casinos. He still had the title of Gamble God. He Shuiyun looked at the smile on Zhou Hao's face and felt her heartstrings being tugged gently. In the past, when she went to that casino, she had classmates and their boyfriend accompanying her. But now, Zhou Hao was the only one, and He Shuiyun felt incomparably safe. This underground casino in Venice is located in a house near the train station, which is very ordinary, so no one would have thought there would be an underground casino inside. And this underground casino was already there when He Shuiyun was in college. Zhou Hao thought that since it could be maintained for so long, the owner of this casino must have a very close relationship with the government in Venice. Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun came to the second floor of the house. At the end of the corridor was a metal door. When the two of them walked over, Zhou Hao knocked twice on the metal door. They saw a rectangular door open, revealing a pair of thick eyebrows and big eyes. What are you doing? The man asked in Italian. He looked at Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun vigilantly. Zhou Hao took out $200 bills and handed them in through the small door. He Shuiyun also said in Italian, we want to go in and have some fun? The man carefully looked at Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun. After a while, he finally opened half of the iron door. Zhou Hao walked in with He Shuiyun and saw that the entire floor was filled with casinos. The environment was quite cheerful. The gambling tables were scattered all over the place. There were many gamblers at each table, as well as some Chinese faces. He Shuiyun looked around, and there was no stranger in her expression. Instead, it was as if she had walked into a place she was very familiar with. Zhou Hao did not find it strange when he saw her expression. After all, He Shuiyun's family owned a casino. He Hongson even had the name Gambling King, so He Shuiyun should be very familiar with the gambling industry. Shuiyun, what do you like to play? Zhou Hao turned around and asked He Shuiyun. 21 points. He Shuiyun said without hesitation. Zhou Hao smiled. He did not care because most gambling games were the same to him. At the casino, He Shuiyun became Zhou Hao's tour guide. She pulled Zhou Hao to one of the gambling tables. Sure enough, they were playing with 21 points. Moreover, there were more customers at this table than other gambling tables. They shouted different languages. Although Zhou Hao did not understand many of them, he understood what they meant. At this time, Zhou Hao had already asked the people in the casino to exchange his $10,000 for chips. He asked He Shuiyun, what do you want to bet? He Shuiyun's eyes were staring at the cards on the gambling table. She looked very focused. Hearing Zhou Hao's words, her eyes did not leave the gambling table. She said, don't worry. Let's take a look first. Zhou Hao did not comment. It was also what He Shuiyun meant. He stood beside her with the chips in his hands. Until more than 10 plates of 21 points were carried out, He Shuiyun still did not have the intention to place a bet. Her eyes were still paying attention to the poker cards on the gambling table. Zhou Hao did not rush her either. When the surrounding people saw that Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun only watched from the sidelines and did not place a bet, they all rushed over to find it strange. Suddenly, a smile appeared on He Shuiyun's lips. Zhou Hao felt it was very strange because he noticed that He Shuiyun's smile was filled with confidence. At this time, a person who had just lost all his chips stood up and left his seat. He Shuiyun immediately sat down, and Zhou Hao also stood behind her and directly placed the chips in front of her. He Shuiyun turned her head to look at Zhou Hao and smiled. If you lose, I will take it. If you win, we will each take half. Zhou Hao shrugged his shoulders. He did not care about the $10,000 at all, as long as He Shuiyun was happy. The croupier was sent to He Shuiyun's side. He Shuiyun flipped open half of it, just enough for him and Zhou Hao to see. That was a 9 and a 3, adding up to 12 points. He Shuiyun smiled at the croupier and said, I want the card. The croupier gave out another card, and He Shuiyun received a 6. When the croupier asked her if she still wanted a card, she nodded again. Zhou Hao felt strange because He Shuiyun's current points were already 18. If she asked for more cards, the possibility of her dropping points would be very high. He immediately used his intuition to sense and knew that He Shuiyun's card would not let her drop more points. Sure enough, the poker cards sent by the croupier were 1 or 2, so He Shuiyun added up to 20 points. Furthermore, the smile on He Shuiyun's face did not change, as if she already knew that she would not explode in points. In this round, the dealer and player family's points could not compare to He Shuiyun's. When the croupiers pushed the chips that they had won to He Shuiyun revealed a brilliant smile to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao originally thought that the previous round was just He Shuiyun's luck, but in my round, He Shuiyun bet all of the 20,000 over USD. Although Zhou Hao did not care about the money, he was curious as to where He Shuiyun's confidence came from. The result was out of Zhou Hao's expectations. He Shuiyun got the highest number again and won nearly $30,000. If she only won 1 or 2 games, Zhou Hao wouldn't find it strange. But in the next 20 or so games, although He Shuiyun also lost, generally speaking, she won more or lost less. Furthermore, Zhou Hao discovered that in the gambling games He Shuiyun won, she had bet all the money. But in the gambling games that she lost, she had only bet a third or a quarter of it. It was as if she knew that she would lose that round. In Zhou Hao's opinion, the bets He Shuiyun had lost seemed to be deliberately used to deceive others. When the surrounding gamblers saw the pile of more than 300,000 chips in front of He Shuiyun, their eyes were filled with greed. Zhou Hao also discovered that although He Shuiyun also lost, there were already a few people quietly surrounding her. It was likely that they were people from the casino and were observing if He Shuiyun was cheating. However, Zhou Hao had always stood behind He Shuiyun. He could also see her cards, so he knew that He Shuiyun did not use any tricks to cheat. But He Shuiyun played 21 points so smoothly, as if she could win as she wished and lose whenever she wanted. Zhou Hao even suspected that He Shuiyun also had the same superhuman instinct as him. Suddenly, Zhou Hao remembered that he had seen a movie about gambling in his previous life, and a light bulb lit up in his heart. Could He Shuiyun be proficient in playing cards? In fact, card calculation was to calculate the size of the card through probability. It was most commonly used in the gambling of 21 points. In the movie, the gamblers who had premeditated plans would use the high and low calculation to deduce the cards. Zhou Hao did not understand the trick, so he did not know the specific method. Zhou Hao still remembered in his previous life. Many people who had gone crazy over money wanted to learn how to calculate cards to win money from the casino. Zhou Hao snorted in contempt. Those who were good at calculating cards were definitely people with strong logical thinking, because those calculations were not as simple as described in movies. There were still many factors that needed to be added to the application of reality. Now that he saw He Shuiyun playing with the 21 points with ease, Zhou Hao was even more certain that she was the kind of expert who was proficient in calculation. He leaned over to He Shuiyun's ear and softly laughed. So you know how to calculate cards. He Shuiyun felt an itch in her ears when she was scolded by Zhou Hao. At the same time, she blushed because of Zhou Hao's intimacy with her. But she was also quite surprised that Zhou Hao could actually tell that she was counting cards. All right, Zhou Hao, I have played enough. Let's go to another table. He Shuiyun stood up and smiled at Zhou Hao. She was very happy. More than 300,000 US dollars was not a small amount, but it was nothing to her. However, it was because she had earned the money through her own ability, which meant a lot to her. After leaving the 21 points gambling table, He Shuiyun asked Zhou Hao, what do you want to play? Anyway, half of the money is yours. I will accompany you there. You have been standing there all this time and have never placed a bet. Zhou Hao looked around and pointed at the roulette over there. He smiled and said, then let's go there. I prefer that one. So the two of them went to the table. Zhou Hao took out $10,000 worth of chips to bet. With his superhuman instinct, he could bet on the specific number of chips, but that would attract too much attention. The roulette's dividends were black and black. Gamblers could bet on some kind of color. In order to avoid trouble, Zhou Hao chose this method. In the end, after a few rounds, Zhou Hao won the bet. However, he only bet 10,000 for each round, so the money he won was limited. He Shuiyun smiled and said, Zhou Hao, why is your luck so good? She knew very well that 21 points could still be used to calculate cards to win money, but the roulette could be used very well. She also did not know that Zhou Hao had the help of that extraordinary intuition, so she thought that it was Zhou Hao's luck that was good. Since you are so lucky, why don't we bet on the exact number this time? He Shuyan said. Which number do you choose? Zhou Hao thought for a while and smiled. Then 18. He Shuyan immediately took out $50,000 worth of chips and placed it on the number 18. The surrounding gamblers all exclaimed because in their opinion, $50,000 was a very large sum. Furthermore, the probability of winning by betting on specific numbers was very small. However, when the bead really rolled onto the 18th square, everyone was stunned. Even He Shuyan looked at Zhou Hao in disbelief. The specific number of bets was 35 times, which meant that Zhou Hao had won 75 million this time. Zhou Hao felt some regret when he felt the shocked gazes around him. In order to not disappoint He Shuyan, Zhou Hao could not help but tell her the number he had sensed. And now, this result would definitely attract the attention of the casino. He Shuyan also realized that something was not right. She knew the habits of the casino. Regular large casinos would not do much, but for underground casinos like these, if they really won a huge sum of money, the casino would not let it go easily. He Shuyan didn't think Zhou Hao would really guess the number of the roulette, so she didn't hesitate to bet the money. If she knew Zhou Hao's extraordinary ability, she would definitely not do that, lest she provoke the owner of the casino. Because the owner of the underground casino was usually a gang organization, and since this underground casino could exist here for so long, its owner must not be simple. Although Zhou Hao had saved He Shuyan from a few bandits, as the daughter of the He family, He Shuyan was not only very familiar with the gambling industry, but also knew a lot about the gangs. The gangs were different from those bandits. The gangs were all pervasive, especially the Italian mafia. If they were provoked, it would be very troublesome. Sure enough, a tall, white man with long hair walked towards Zhou Hao and He Shuyan. He said with a cold expression, "You two, congratulations on winning a huge sum of money, but we don't have that much cash in the casino. Our manager invited the two of you to wait in the manager's office for a while. We have already informed people to send the money over." This person's English had a thick Italian accent, so he must be an Italian. Zhou Hao and He Shuyan looked at each other. He Shuyan's eyes were somewhat worried. Zhou Hao held her hand and gave her a reassuring look. He nodded at the long-haired man in agreement. The moment Zhou Hao held her hand, He Shuyan's heart trembled, but the original uneasiness disappeared without a trace. The so-called manager's office was upstairs. It was just another house. As soon as he walked in, he saw a few tall white men inside. A man in a suit with a beard was sitting in front of a desk. His feet were on the desk, and he was holding a sharpening knife to sharpen his nails. This was obviously the manager of the casino. Seeing Zhou Hao and Zhou Hao come in, the corner of his mouth curled up and he said, "You guys are really lucky. You won 2 million from our casino with 10,000 yuan. Hee hee. I really envy your luck." The manager looked at Zhou Hao and He Shuyan like they were hyenas, filled with viciousness and greed. He Shuyan saw his eyes and took a step back, holding Zhou Hao's hand tightly. "Do you know that it has been a long time since anyone can win so much money in our casino?" His smile became even brighter. "I remember the last one was 2 years ago. That guy won more than $1 million in our casino. Unfortunately, we found out that he cheated. Since he likes Venice so much, we'll do as he wishes and let him stay in Venice forever." Zhou Hao naturally understood that the manager was beating around the bush and saying that the two of them were cheating. So he sneered in English, "I also hate cheating, so my friends and I are not that kind of people. Besides cheating, the people I hate the most in my life are those shameless people who slander good people without any evidence." The manager's face turned cold. Of course he understood what Zhou Hao meant. However, as Zhou Hao had said, he did not have any evidence to prove that Zhou Hao and He Shuyan were cheating. The gambling situation had been recorded, but even after many rounds of checking by the veterans in the casino, they did not find any flaws. Zhou Hao said again, "Of course, we are only here to make fun of ourselves. If you are not willing to give us the money, we don't mind." Zhou Hao's tone was flat, but his eyes were full of contempt, which made the manager very angry. The manager knew that if the casino didn't give the money to Zhou Hao and the others, their reputation would be damaged. However, the manager was not willing to give the money to Zhou Hao and the other two. Besides, they were one of the few gangs in Italy. How could they be looked down upon by Zhou Hao? Looking at Zhou Hao and He Shuyan, the manager guessed that they were just tourists who came to Venice to play. They should not be sent by other gangs to pick a fight. Thinking of this, he had already made up his mind. At that moment, a subordinate came over with a check and handed it to the manager. The manager took a look and let him give it to Zhou Hao. He said to Zhou Hao, "This is 207 million USD. Take a look. If there are no problems, you can leave." Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun did not say anything. They turned around and left. When they walked out of the house, He Shuiyun said to Zhou Hao, "They will not let us go so easily. Be careful." Zhou Hao nodded. The two of them boarded a gangdora, but Zhou Hao did not let the boatman drive to his hotel. Instead, he wandered around. Not long after their boat left, two small speedboats drove out of the house. There were 4 big men on each speedboat. Since he could not expose the location of his hotel, Zhou Hao decided to tour Venice with He Shuiyun. He Shuiyun was still worried that the casino people would harm Zhou Hao and her, but when she saw Zhou Hao's sunny smile that was not affected at all, she was also affected. She felt that Zhou Hao always gave people a sense of security. It was as if even if the sky fell, he would still be there to support you. At this time, the two of them took the gangdora to a famous attraction in Venice, the Bridge of Lamentation. This bridge is connected to the governor's mansion and the dungeon where the prisoners are imprisoned. He Shuiyun introduced the bridge to Zhou Hao. Every prisoner will pass this bridge when they go to the execution ground. When they think that their lives are about to end, they will sigh on the bridge. Zhou Hao shook his head. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. Sigh. I can't do anything illegal. He Shuiyun remembered the embarrassing childhood matter that Zhou Hao had mentioned before. She smiled and said, "According to what I said, you were so bad when you were young. You should be arrested here to lock you up." "No way. I was just blowing up cow dung. There's no need to be so exaggerated." Zhou Hao smiled helplessly. After that, the two of them got off the boat and went ashore. They visited the various buildings in Venice. No one knew when, but Zhou Hao's hand and He Shuiyun's hand had been locked together. When He Shuiyun realized it, she could not bear to let go. Zhou Hao also looked like he was taking it for granted and did not have any intention of letting go of her. They came to St. Marco Square again and went up to the St. Marco Bell Tower. When they came to the roof, they found that there were no other tourists there. He Shuiyun's heart started to beat faster when she was alone here. Suddenly, Zhou Hao reached out and hugged He Shuiyun's slender waist. He Shuiyun's heart tightened. Just as she was about to say no, she realized that Zhou Hao was looking at the exit of the stairs coldly. Following Zhou Hao's gaze, He Shuiyun saw a few burly men walking up one after another, and their expressions were very unfriendly. He Shuiyun immediately understood that these must be the people from the underground casino. She also knew that Zhou Hao hugging her did not mean to be frivolous, but to protect her. "You want to snatch that check back, right?" Zhou Hao sneered at the few big men in English. One of the bald white men did not stand on ceremony and said, "It's good that you know. And it's not just the check. Our boss has already given the order, so you have to come back with us." Hee hee. It's been a long time since we've had a taste of China's girls. The others also revealed obscene smiles and looked at He Shuiyun like hungry wolves. Zhou Hao let He Shuiyun stand in front of the railing on the roof and said to her, "Shuiyun, stand here and don't move. Watch how I teach them a lesson." After saying that, Zhou Hao ignored the laughter of those big men and rushed straight over. Bang! Before the others could see Zhou Hao's movements clearly, they heard a muffled sound. Then, they saw the bald, burly man fly up and fall to the ground with a loud bang. Not a single tooth was left in his mouth, and he had fainted. It was only at this moment that they realized that Zhou Hao, who was much smaller than them, was not a kind man. Two of them roared and pounced towards Zhou Hao. They did not see any movement from Zhou Hao. When the two of them rushed in front of Zhou Hao, they fell down softly. The other 3 men quickly reached out their hands to pull out their guns, only to find that their vision had turned dark. Zhou Hao had silently appeared in front of them. After that, they felt a sharp pain in their heads. After that, they completely lost consciousness. He Shuiyun, who was standing on the other side, was stunned as she watched Zhou Hao float around like a ghost. And then those big men fell down one after another. She knew that Zhou Hao knew martial arts, but today, she realized that Zhou Hao's martial arts was not only powerful, but had also reached a magical level. Seeing the surprised look on He Shuiyun's face, Zhou Hao patted the dust on his hands and smiled. "All right, these flies have been taken care of. Let's go." Then he walked over and extended his right hand to He Shuiyun. This time, He Shuiyun did not hesitate. She placed her hand on Zhou Hao's palm and followed him down the bell tower. Other than the St. Marco Bell Tower, the two of them were about to walk towards St. Marco Square. "Xiao Hao." A female voice that Zhou Hao was very familiar with came from behind them. Zhou Hao stopped in his tracks. He Shuiyun knew that Zhou Hao had met someone familiar. She subconsciously wanted to let go of Zhou Hao's hand, but she found that Zhou Hao's 5 fingers were tightly clenched, not allowing her to pull them out. The two of them turned around, and Zhou Hao saw Zhao Yuqin, who was smiling slyly at him. "Sister." Zhou Hao immediately greeted her, but he felt that Zhao Yuqin's eyes were like a hunter who had caught his prey, and her eyes were constantly looking at the place where he and He Shuyan held hands. He Shuyan was also very surprised when she saw Zhao Yuqin. She was very surprised by Zhao Yuqin's appearance and temperament, and was even more surprised than herself. Zhao Yuqin slowly walked over. First, she revealed a profound smile to Zhou Hao. Then, she looked at He Shuyan, who was beside him. Zhou Hao hurriedly introduced her. "Elder sister. This is Miss He Shuyan and Miss He. She is my friend. Just now we met the hoodlums here." Shui Yun was also frightened. He gave Zhao Yuqin an explanation. Because He Shuyan got scared, he held her hand to give her a sense of security. He Shuyan was smart and also understood Zhou Hao's thoughts. She thought that it was no wonder that he did not let go of her just now. If he let go just now, it would make people even more suspicious. Brawler. Zhao Yuqin looked at Zhou Hao, obviously not believing his words. He Shuyan immediately said, "It's all my fault. Just now I brought Zhou Hao to an underground casino. I did not expect that when we won money there, the people in the casino would not stop and sent people to chase us. It was all thanks to Zhou Hao that those people were subdued." Zhou Hao looked at Zhao Yuqin, feeling wronged. It was as if he was saying, "Look, I'm not lying." Zhao Yuqin glanced at him and then smiled at He Shuyan. "Missy is also here to travel? You and Xiao Hao, you must have known each other before." He Shuyan nodded and unconsciously let go of Zhou Hao's hand. This time Zhou Hao did not insist and immediately let go. He Shuyan smiled and said, "I met Zhou Hao in Hong Kong. I met him when I was here just now." Zhou Hao said he came with his sister. "I think that sister is you." He, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Zhao Yuqin. Missy, just call me Yuqin." Zhao Yuqin smiled politely. "Then don't call me Missy, that unfamiliar. Call me Shuiyun." At this time, Zhou Hao said to the two girls, "Sister, Shuiyun, those people should come again. Let's leave this place first." So, the group of people left St. Marco Square and returned to the hotel where Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin stayed. It was already afternoon. Zhou Hao and He Shuyan had not had lunch yet, so they went to the hotel's small restaurant. They gathered around to eat. "Sister, aren't you resting in your room? Why did you come out again?" Zhou Hao asked as he chewed on the bread. Zhao Yuqin rolled her eyes at him. "It's still you, kid. I didn't see you after I woke up. I waited for a long time and didn't see you come back, so I went out for a stroll to see if I could meet you." After a long rest, Zhao Yuqin's strength had almost recovered. However, her lower body was still injured, so she couldn't walk too quickly. He Shuiyun, who was by the side, was staring at Zhao Yuqin. Zhao Yuqin was the most beautiful woman she had ever seen. Especially the temperament on Zhao Yuqin's body. It was not the slightest bit inferior to that of a young lady from a prestigious family. It was even better than that. Before this, He Shuyan also knew that she was an outstanding beauty. In university, there were boys from all the departments who chased after her. But now that she saw Zhao Yuqin, she actually felt ashamed of herself. Furthermore, she also felt that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin were not simple siblings. She could feel the tenderness in Zhao Yuqin's eyes when she looked at Zhou Hao. That was not a kind of emotion that belonged to siblings. At this moment, Zhao Yuqin was lightly stirring the coffee in front of her and asked He Shuyan with a smile, "Shuyan, how did you and Xiao Hao get to know each other in Hong Kong?" He Shuyan also felt that there was nothing to hide about those things. So she told Zhao Yuqin that she was kidnapped by the criminals in the bank and then rescued by Zhou Hao. Zhao Yuqin couldn't help but cover her mouth and exclaim when she heard about the danger. She was not worried about Zhou Hao, but she was thinking about how dangerous it would be for a delicate beauty like He Shuyan to be held hostage by those vicious criminals. After that, the two girls slowly started chatting. Their ages were similar, and they had rich experience. Moreover, they were both beautiful and intelligent beauties, so they had a lot of common topics to talk about. She threw Zhou Hao to the side. Zhou Hao found that Zhao Yuqin and He Shuyan, other than talking about cosmetics and fashion that all women loved, talked about more about economic and cultural knowledge. Zhao Yuqin once studied at Tsinghua University and National Defense University. Later, she stayed in the army for a period of time. He Shuyan grew up in the He family, which had complicated family relationships since she was young. She was used to the coldness and warmth of human relationships. She was also influenced by the incidents that happened at the casino. Later, she even studied at Swordbridge University. These two women were not only educated, but also very experienced in life. They were more mature and wise than most other women. If not for Zhou Hao's talent and his rebirth, he would have been able to predict many things. Otherwise, he would have felt inferior under their halo. Zhao Yuqin and He Shuiyun were chatting happily and occasionally letting out charming laughter, attracting the attention of the other customers in the small restaurant. When they saw these two beautiful Eastern women, the male tourists of different nationalities all revealed stunned expressions. Zhou Hao looked at the two women who were as bright as pearls and couldn't help but feel proud. When he thought of these two beauties, one of them was his wife's elder sister. The other one also had a vague relationship with him. Zhou Hao couldn't help but feel pleased with himself. Shuiyun, how long have you been in Venice? Where do you live? Zhao Yuqin asked He Shuiyun. I have been here for 2 days. I am staying in a hotel near St. Marco Square. Zhou Hao said, those people from the casino must be looking for us everywhere. Shuiyun, don't stay there anymore. Come with us. Just get one more room here. Zhao Yuqin also nodded. After all, a strong dragon could not suppress a local snake. If He Shuiyun were to stay in the hotel alone, she and Zhou Hao would not be at ease. He Shuiyun hesitated for a moment and agreed to the wine. She also immediately called the hotel's people to bring her luggage over. Zhou Hao booked a room for He Shuiyun across from him. After that, He Shuiyun went in to rest. Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin also returned to their rooms. However, the moment Zhou Hao returned to his room, he sensed that the atmosphere was somewhat inappropriate. He saw Zhao Yuqin standing by the window with her arms crossed and her back facing him. She did not say anything. Sister. Zhou Hao tried to call her, but Zhao Yuqin ignored him. Zhou Hao immediately knew that Zhao Yuqin was angry, even though she was still talking and laughing with He Shuiyun outside. However, he had seen Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun walking hand in hand at St. Marco Square. With Zhao Yuqin's intelligence, how could she believe Zhou Hao's excuse so easily? Walking behind Zhao Yuqin, Zhou Hao held her shoulders and called out softly, Sister. Zhao Yuqin twisted her body to push Zhou Hao away and said coldly, Don't call me. I don't have such good fortune to be your sister. Sister, what's wrong? Why are you angry? Zhou Hao said in a friendly manner. This was the first time Zhao Yuqin had been angry with him during the time Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin were dating. This made Zhou Hao very uneasy because he really cared about Zhao Yuqin. Zhao Yuqin said coldly, Originally, you had other women by your side, so I didn't really care about you. When I was in Beijing, I even specially want to get close to Yang Jiabao, and it was all for you. But this time, I came to Venice with you to enjoy the world between the two of us, but you turned around and went to be with another woman. She suddenly turned around and looked at him coldly. Zhou Hao said, Zhou Hao, if I don't say anything, can you take an inch? Sister, Zhou Hao really could not say anything because he felt guilty for Zhao Yuqin. In front of the enemy, Zhou Hao was ruthless and unscrupulous, but when faced with Zhao Yuqin, he released a little bit of fierceness. Seeing Zhou Hao's worried look, Zhao Yuqin looked cold on the surface, but in her heart, she was very proud. You brat, there are so many women around you. If I don't beat you up now, won't I be bullied to death by you in the future? She coldly snorted. Humph, I've had enough of your morning and evening. In the future, if you leave me, I'll leave you. We'll have nothing to do with each other in the future. Sister. Zhou Hao's expression changed drastically as he looked at Zhao Yuqin in a daze. Zhao Yuqin held her hands and turned her face to the side, but in her heart, she secretly said, Quickly come and coax me. If you coax me, I will forgive you. So her meaning was to let Zhou Hao say sweet words to coax her, and then she would take the opportunity to forgive Zhou Hao. The two of them would follow this path and live in harmony. Although she was intelligent and mature, in terms of love, she also longed for the gentleness of her lover like other women. However, she waited for a long time and did not hear Zhou Hao speak. She slightly turned her head to look at Zhou Hao and saw that his face was pale. Zhao Yuqin wasn't really angry. She just wanted to provoke Zhou Hao. Now, seeing Zhou Hao's reaction, how could she not know how much he cared about her? Besides the sweetness, she also felt a heartache. Just as she was about to forgive Zhou Hao, she saw a ruthless expression suddenly appear on Zhou Hao's face. He said while gnashing his teeth in anger, I won't let sister leave me. When the room fell silent again, Zhao Yuqin was already as soft as mud. Her entire body was covered with a layer of sweat, and there were a few strands of black hair sticking to her forehead and temples. Like a newborn baby, she curled up in Zhou Hao's arms, and Zhou Hao even stuck out his tongue from time to lick her face. Under Zhou Hao's light touch, Zhao Yuqin's body kept trembling. At this moment, her body was very sensitive. With just a little touch from Zhou Hao, she would have a strong desire. Of course, only Zhou Hao could make her like this. In other words, her body had completely fallen into Zhou Hao's hands. You be **starred. You're so naughty. You don't pity your elder sister at all. Zhao Yuqin's voice was very weak, and the red flush on her face did not retreat. Looking at Zhao Yuqin's pitiful look, Zhou Hao really felt guilty. During the fierce battle just now, Zhao Yuqin had already called from the truth. She said that she wanted to break up with Zhou Hao, but she just wanted to provoke him. Zhou Hao gently hugged Zhao Yuqin and said while pressing her forehead, "Who asked sister to scare me like that? I thought you were really going to leave me." Zhao Yuqin helplessly said, "Sister gave you everything. How could she leave you? Who do you think sister is?" "I'm sorry, it's all Xiao Hao's fault," Zhou Hao said. However, he and Zhao Yuqin had been fighting from 2 or 3 in the afternoon to 7 or 8 in order to keep Zhao Yuqin's body away from him. Zhou Hao used all of his skills. Not only did he make Zhao Yuqin suffer, but he also used all of his strength for the first time. That kind of carefree feeling was really very satisfying. It only made Zhao Yuqin suffer. Now, Zhao Yuqin looked at Zhou Hao with a gentle gaze. There was also a trace of fear in her eyes, because she had deeply experienced it now. If she were to face Zhou Hao, who was full of motivation alone, it would be hard for her to bear it. Feeling guilty, Zhou Hao continued to bombard Zhao Yuqin with sweet words. He coaxed this beautiful woman, who was also his wife and sister, until she submitted to him. Last night, Zhou Hao had just broken her body, and today she had suffered such an impact. Zhao Yuqin could be said to be hurt on top of her injuries. It was not long before she felt sleepy and fell asleep in Zhou Hao's arms. However, Zhou Hao, who was full of pain, was the complete opposite of Zhao Yuqin. He was in an extremely good mood. Carefully placing Zhao Yuqin's jade body on the bed and covering her with a blanket, Zhou Hao put on his clothes again and left the room. The battle between him and Zhao Yuqin lasted for half a day. He Shuyan knocked on the door midway, but Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin, who were in high spirits, did not open the door and did not answer. Zhou Hao even covered Zhao Yuqin's mouth to prevent He Shuyan from hearing her mesmerizing roar. He Shuyan knocked a few times and found that no one answered, so she thought that there was no one in the room, so she left. At this moment, Zhou Hao came to He Shuyan's room and knocked a few times, but there was no response. With his extraordinary spiritual sense, he could naturally hear that there was really no one in the room. Where did she go? Zhou Hao couldn't help but feel puzzled. The people from the casino should have been looking for them in Venice, because most of the time, the authority of the mafia was not allowed to be violated, and Zhou Hao's actions in the morning had completely violated their authority. If Zhou Hao was with them, there was no need to be afraid. No matter how many people from the mafia came, He Shuyan would not be in danger. However, it would be very dangerous if He Shuyan wandered outside alone. Zhou Hao quickly went to the counter on the first floor and asked the hotel owner where He Shuyan was going. The boss told Zhou Hao that there was a gala outside, and He Shuyan said she wanted to go and take a look. So Zhou Hao left the hotel and saw that there were a lot of people in strange clothes dancing happily in the open space outside. There were also many colorful boats on the river. The air was filled with rhythmic and fast music, and the atmosphere was very lively. Zhou Hao noticed that many people were wearing all kinds of masks. It seemed that this festival also had the taste of a costume party. And very quickly, Zhou Hao discovered He Shuyan. She was standing at the entrance of a shop not far away. Leaning against the wall, she looked at the people enjoying the festivities. Besides, she was also wearing a Venice mask, covering the upper half of her face. Her beautiful face also had a mysterious charm. He Shuayun's figure always carried a hint of loneliness and loneliness, completely different from those joyful tourists and tourists around. Zhou Hao walked straight over. He did not know what He Shuyan was thinking until Zhou Hao appeared in front of her. She only regained her senses when Zhou Hao appeared in front of her. Zhou Hao. She looked at Zhou Hao in surprise. Zhou Hao smiled at her. Why did you come out? I saw that you guys weren't in your rooms, and I heard from the hotel owner that there would be a fest tonight, so I came out to take a look. Her eyes passed through the mask and looked at Zhou Hao. Where did you go with Yuqin? Of course, Zhou Hao could not say that he and Zhao Yuqin had been fighting on the bed for a long time, so he randomly found an excuse to say that he and Zhao Yuqin had some things to do outside. This mask of yours is pretty. Where did you buy it? Zhou Hao looked at the butterfly-shaped mask on He Shuayun's face and smiled. Here, it's inside. Zhao Yuqin pointed to the shop beside her. Then I will also buy one to wear. He chose a pure white mask from the shop. It did not cover the entire face, but only the eyes and nose, just like the one on He Shuyan's face. It made Zhou Hao look like Yanghua, who wore a mask in a TV series. He turned around to look at the people dancing happily in the melodious music. Seeing the trace of desire in He Shuayun's eyes, Zhou Hao extended his right hand to her and invited her silently. He Shuayun was stunned when she saw Zhou Hao reach his right hand in front of her. She looked up and saw Zhou Hao's warm smile. Her heartstrings moved, and she placed her hand on Zhou Hao's palm. So Zhou Hao brought He Shuiyun into the crowd and followed the music to the simplest dance steps. There was no pattern or footwork to speak of. It just followed the emotions in her heart. He Shuiyun had received formal social dance and waltz lessons at home. But now, she seemed to have forgotten some social dance and forgot some waltz. She just followed Zhou Hao and moved. Not only her body, but even her heart also started to jump. She felt that she had never been so happy before. Under the deep night sky, the atmosphere in Venice became more and more fiery, as if even the water in the river was burning. He Shuiyan kept dancing with Zhou Hao until she was so tired that she could not move. She pulled Zhou Hao away from the parade and leaned against the wall in a narrow alley to catch her breath. Are you happy? Zhou Hao saw that although He Shuiyan looked tired, she was more happy. He Shuiyan nodded while gasping for breath. Her fair face had a layer of red glow because of the intense exercise. She looked very beautiful. Ever since my mother passed away, I have never been so happy. He Shuiyan panted and said. At this moment, He Shuiyun's delicate face actually revealed a kind of pure smile like that of a child, as if she had returned to her childhood. When he thought of the lonely figure she stood in the crowd, Zhou Hao suddenly felt pity for her. Ever since my mother passed away, I have no one who can talk to me. He Shuiyun put her hands on her knees and looked at her feet. Her smile was full of self-mockery. My brothers and sisters in the family, apart from the blood relationship, are even more unfamiliar with me than strangers. Also, strangers at least would not plot against me at all times. As for my friends, they are just a bunch of people who only know how to enjoy themselves. She looked up at Zhou Hao and smiled apologetically. I'm sorry. I told you something I don't know. Don't mind me. I'm just complaining. In Zhou Hao's eyes, He Shuiyun's smile was full of sadness and helplessness. In an instant, he had an impulse in his heart. Then, in He Shuiyun's shock, Zhou Hao reached out his hands and pulled her into his arms. He hugged her so tightly that it made He Shuiyun feel slightly suffocated. However, after the initial shock, she felt a strong warmth and sweetness. The corner of her mouth curved into a blissful arc. Then, she held Zhou Hao's back with her hands behind her back and pressed her head against Zhou Hao's chest. The people outside enjoying the festive scene did not notice that there was a man and woman hugging each other in the alley. The noise and bustle outside seemed to have nothing to do with them. It was as if they were in a different world. He Shuiyun stood on her tiptoes and kissed Zhou Hao on the cheek. She then used her soft lips to touch him. She did not leave until her lips touched Zhou Hao's. Now, Zhou Hao had taken off the masks on his and He Shuiyun's faces. Their lips and lips were connected. They were not as gentle as normal couples, or even crazy. Even Zhou Hao did not expect He Shuiyun, who had always maintained the image of a noble lady, to become so passionate. It was as if she wanted to release all the feelings she had suppressed for more than 20 years. Zhou Hao bit her lips. His body was close to hers, and he caressed her alluring body through her clothes. The Turin Hotel in Venice, the hotel He Shuiyun used to stay in. Zhou Hao and He Shuiyun arrived with the flow of people at the festival. The two of them walked side by side, their expressions very calm. However, if one looked carefully, one could see that there were ripples in He Shuiyun's eyes, and the spring light was rippling. Zhou Hao's eyes also had traces of suppressed restlessness. The two of them went straight to the hotel where He Shuiyun stayed. They saw He Shuiyun take out the key to open the door. However, her right hand was trembling slightly. She tried a few times before finally opening the door. Zhou Hao immediately followed He Shuiyun in and closed the door behind him. There was no light in the room. In the darkness, there was a bustling light outside through the window. The music of the festival was also faintly heard. Zhou Hao closed the door, and a soft jade body pounced on him, throwing itself into his arms. Then, the soft lips touched Zhou Hao's mouth. It was even more passionate than when they were in the alley outside. This was naturally He Shuiyun. She wrapped her arms around Zhou Hao's neck and stood on her tiptoes to kiss him passionately. This was the first time she had tasted the real pleasure of having sex with a man, and it made He Shuiyun very excited. Furthermore, He Shuiyun later switched from being a guest to being a host and made Zhou Hao lie on the bed. Zhou Hao thought in his heart that she really was that kind of noble woman to a delicate woman. After a long time, Zhou Hao said to He Shuiyun, who had calmed down and was covered in sweat, "Shuiyun, after you go back to Hong Kong, you can divorce Su Jinsheng." He licked He Shuiyun's shoulders and neck as he said, "Although you and him are not husband and wife, but when I think that others call you Mrs. Su, I feel uncomfortable in my heart." He Shuiyun leaned on Zhou Hao's shoulder and said faintly, "No way. Hao, it's not right for me to be like this with you. I don't care. You are now my woman." Zhou Hao put his arm around her neck and said, "My woman has to stay by my side. Anyway, you are not after the money of Su family. Besides, Su Jinsheng is not a good man. Even if you divorce him, no one will dare to say anything about you." He Shuiyan rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao. "He is not a good man. But are you? Su Lin, Liang Xiaobing, and the current Yu Qin in Hong Kong. There are other things that I don't know about. You already have so many women. You are not much better than Su Jinsheng." Zhou Hao could hear the jealousy in her voice, and he felt somewhat ashamed. That's right. In fact, he was not much better than Su Jinsheng. If he insisted on saying the good points, it would mean that he was greedy for new things and did not hate old things. He Shuiyan kissed Zhou Hao's cheek. "How let's stop until today. Anyway, I'm already very satisfied that I can be like you. Just pretend. Just think that I'm just a memory of you." Zhou Hao was shocked when he heard that. He hugged He Shuiyun and said, "No, I don't want anything that I once had. I want it to last forever. Anyway, I won't let you go." He Shuiyun was helpless and touched. Although she had known Zhou Hao for a short time, she did have feelings for this man. Otherwise, she would not have given her pure body to him. If Zhou Hao could not let her go, how could she let Zhou Hao go? She did not speak. Instead, she lifted her hand and took off the sapphire necklace from her neck and handed it to Zhou Hao. "How, this necklace, I'll give it to you." Zhou Hao had seen this necklace before. It was the same necklace that he had robbed the bank robber when he first met He Shuiyan. When the robber had taken the necklace off, He Shuiyan actually did not care about her own safety and wanted to snatch it back. This showed how important the necklace was to her. But now, she gave this necklace to him. "This necklace is very important to you, right?" Zhou Hao asked with a frown. He Shuiyan nodded. Her mother's words were still ringing in her ears, and her face couldn't help but turn red. Zhou Hao naturally did not know the meaning behind this sapphire necklace, but he did not reject it. He smiled and put the necklace away. "This can be considered our token of love. Next time, I will also give you a gift." He Shuiyan did not comment, and after a while, she said, "Let's go back. Yuqin has probably been waiting for you for a long time." Hearing He Shuiyan mention Zhao Yuqin, Zhou Hao felt ashamed in his heart. Previously, Zhao Yuqin was angry with him because of He Shuiyan. He did not expect that he would really have a relationship with He Shuiyan now. However, Zhou Hao thought that He Shuiyan should still be sleeping soundly, so his heart was not so nervous anymore. But thinking about it, Zhou Hao felt that his ability under the bed was really scary. He had just tortured Zhao Yuqin until she was exhausted, and now he was having sex with He Shuiyan twice. After following He Shuiyan back to the hotel, He Shuiyan went back to her own room, and Zhou Hao also went back to Zhao Yuqin's place. Sure enough, Zhao Yuqin was still sleeping on the bed, completely unaware of what was happening outside. Lightly lying beside Zhao Yuqin and looking at Zhao Yuqin's exposed shoulder, Zhou Hao could not help but kiss her on the shoulder and then hug her to sleep safely. The next morning, Zhou Hao was woken up by the ringing of a phone. He let go of Zhao Yuqin, who was still in his arms. He took the phone from the bedside table and said, "Hello? Hello. I am Zhou Hao. How? I'm Shuiyun. I'm on the plane now." He Shuiyun's voice was like the night wind on the phone. "The plane?" Zhou Hao suddenly sat up. He Shuiyun sighed softly. "How? I'm sorry. I can't divorce Su Jinsheng. This is not only bad for me, but also bad for you." "How? I'm going back to Hong Kong. If you have time, come to Hong Kong and see me." After that, He Shuiyan hung up without waiting for Zhou Hao to speak. Zhou Hao sat on the bed in a daze. He did not expect He Shuiyan to leave without saying anything. "Xiao Hao, what's wrong?" Zhao Yuqin, who was beside him, rubbed her sleepy eyes. "Shuiyan went back to Hong Kong," Zhou Hao said sadly. Zhou Hao felt sad and upset about He Shuiyun's sudden departure. He knew very well that the joy he and He Shuiyun had last night was not because of the one-night love he hated. Both of them had feelings for each other. Zhou Hao was not the kind of cowardly man who did not care about the long term and only cared about the things he once had. Since He Shuiyun had already become his woman, Zhou Hao would definitely fight to the end. However, Zhou Hao also knew that he could not be too hasty now. The reason He Shuiyun refused to divorce Su Jinsheng was partly because she was afraid of He Hongxin, and partly because she didn't want to harm Zhou Hao. Because the combined strength of the He and Su families was enough to affect the entire Hong Kong and Macau. He Shuiyan didn't know Zhou Hao's true strength, but Zhou Hao knew that if he used all his funds, he could easily defeat the Su family. However, at least the current Zhou Hao of the He family didn't have the strength to do so. The funds that He Hongxin had were far richer than Zhou Hao's. Furthermore, the He family had taken root in the Macau for a long time. Almost half of the residents in the Macau were working for him directly or indirectly. However, He Hongsen's good days would not last for long. Zhou Hao remembered that not long after Macau returned to China, the central government had ordered the Macau government to open the gambling house. In the end, the Macau government opened 3 official and 3 deputy cards. There were a total of 6 gambling companies competing in Macau, including the gambling giants from the Las Vegas in the United States. With this, He Hongsen's monopoly in the Macau completely collapsed. He also had to go through a lot of hard work to barely keep the competition of his casino. Even so, the gambling market in the Macau had been divided up. Zhou Hao had never seen He Hongsen face-to-face, but if he wanted He Shuiyan to return to his side without any worries, not only would he have to defeat Su family, he would also have to have the strength to fight against the He family. Therefore, Zhou Hao is now considering whether he should use the energy of the Zhao family to participate in the gambling event in Macau in the future. He would open a casino and compete with the He family, just like how he bought the Asia Television Limited to attack Xiao Yifu. However, there were too many factors to consider when opening a casino. Not only did he need to have a strong backing, but he also needed to take advantage of both the black and the white. Zhou Hao shook his head. There was still more than a year and 2 years before Macau's return, so there was no need to worry for the time being. After that, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin stayed in Venice for 3 days. They enjoyed their world for a while before returning to the country. They did not go to Xiang City or Beijing. Instead, they went to Zhejiang province because Zhou Hao wanted to take a look at the headquarters of the North Pole Star and observe the Hongdian Film and Television City. After they got off the plane, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin saw that there were 2 types of drinks neatly placed on the cabinets of several stores in the airport. The packaging of these 2 drinks was similar, but the liquid inside, one red and one green, was very eye-catching. Furthermore, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin also discovered that there was a passenger in the airport who was holding that kind of drink. Xiao Hao, isn't it? Zhao Yuqin looked at the drinks and was very surprised. Zhou Hao was also very excited and smiled as he said, "Yes, our iced red tea and green tea have finally been pushed out of the market." The red and green beverages were surprisingly the iced red tea and green tea beverages that Zhou Hao had planned for a long time. During the previous purchase crisis, the research and development of iced black tea and green tea had already been completed. They were just waiting to be pushed out of the market. The reason why Zhou Hao used Coca-Cola's Daijiaxian and the Coke's Zhuhuaxi to deal with Fengshan Group was also because Zhou Hao had deliberately leaked the clues of tea beverages to them through Ratty and the others. It made them believe that the Milky Way drink group had developed a new drink that could influence the beverage market in China. After the acquisition crisis, Zhou Hao left the tea beverage matter to Jukin Sutaku before he left China. "Let's go buy a bottle and try it out." Zhao Yuqin happily bought a bottle of iced red tea and a bottle of green tea. She handed the iced black tea to Zhou Hao, then unscrewed the cup of green tea and took 2 sips. Zhou Hao smiled and asked, "How is it?" Zhao Yuqin tilted her head to feel the fragrance of the green tea in her mouth and said, "The taste of the tea is a little lighter than what was brewed by hand. Of course, it can't be compared to those expensive tea leaves. However, as a drink to quench the heat and quench the thirst, it is already very outstanding." Zhou Hao nodded. Of course, he could not ask for tea drinks to be more expensive than those expensive green tea. However, he had once emphasized to the people of the development department that the tea beverages produced by Tianhe must be mixed with a suitable amount of polyphenol, because that was the most important component of tea leaves that were beneficial to the human body, and Zhou Hao wanted to put the tea beverages on the list, which happened to be the subject of health. He drank a mouthful of iced red tea, feeling that the taste was even better than Master Kong in his previous life. He asked a female employee of the airport store, "Miss, I would like to ask if these iced red tea and green tea are sold well?" The female employee suddenly saw a handsome man like Zhou Hao asking about her, and her face instantly turned red. She quickly replied, "These 2 drinks were only officially listed a few days ago, and they were endorsed by Liang Xiaobing. The sales were very good. In the past, most of the tourists here at the airport bought Coca-Cola or pure water. Now, almost half of the tourists are buying iced red tea and green tea, especially those foreign tourists." Zhou Hao smiled and thanked him. Foreigner, who came to China for vacation, was very interested in China's culture. The tea that condensed China's deep culture would naturally be welcomed by them. Zhou Hao had never thought of limiting the tea beverage market to the domestic market. According to his plan, when Tianhe stabilized the market share in the domestic market, he would immediately expand overseas. His goal was to let China's black tea and green tea enter various countries, just like how Coca-Cola was popular all over the world. After exiting the airport, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin sat in the car that Polar North Star had arranged for them. Other than the driver who was in charge of driving, the other people were in the same car as them. There was also an assistant of Wang Zhonglei. This assistant was Guo Chengtao, in his 20s. He was very young, but also very capable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been Wang Zhongjuan's assistant. From Wang Zhongjuan's words, Guo Chengtao already knew that the young and handsome man sitting in the backseat was the company's big boss. If Wang Zhongjuan was not busy with the company's matters, he would have personally come to pick him up. At this moment, Zhou Hao was looking at the scenery outside the window. He saw a huge billboard by the roadside. Liang Xiaobing, dressed in a bright and pure dress, was holding a bottle of iced red tea with a smile on her face. Zhao Yuqin also saw the billboard and said with a smile, "Looks like Jukin Sitaku has put in a lot of effort in promoting black tea and green tea. Of course. Before I left China, I asked him to advertise it." Zhou Hao said. The acquisition of the Heavenly River and the Fengshan Group had caused a huge stir in the public opinion. The Fengshan Group first purchased the Heavenly River Drink Group in a high-profile manner, and then they held a press conference to announce a series of development plans. But a few days later, the news of the Fengshan Group being sold off by the bank spread like wildfire, once again causing an uproar in the industry and media. Finally, Zhou Hao used the name of an empty shell company that he registered in Hong Kong to buy the entire Fengshan Group and the Heavenly River Drink Group from the bank. He then asked Jukin Sitaku to integrate the two companies together and renamed the company Heavenly River. Because of this, Jukin Sitaku held another press conference. The difference was that Jukin Sitaku was the deputy general manager of Fengshan Group last time, and this time, he was the deputy general manager of the Heavenly River Group. At the conference, Jukin Sitaku did not announce any development plans like last time. He only said that Fengshan Group and Heavenly River Drink Group had been integrated into the current Heavenly River Group. As for the development of the Heavenly River Group, he did not say much. Instead, he used practical actions to prove it. As soon as black tea and green tea, which had regained the reputation of Heavenly River, were introduced, it caused a huge earthquake in the domestic beverage market. This new tea beverage, relying on the healthy theme and delicious taste, quickly won the favor of domestic consumers, especially inviting Liang Xiaobing, who had recently become famous in the country, to endorse it, even more so capturing all the young consumer groups in one fell swoop. Guo Chengtao, who was in front, also followed his lead and said, "Yes, boss. The black tea and green tea produced by Tianhe were very popular now, and it was all thanks to Miss Liang. Miss Liang is still on tour around the country, and her popularity is soaring." Thinking of Liang Xiaobing, Zhou Hao smiled from the bottom of his heart. How is Xiaobing's tour concert going in the country? Guo Chengtao said. Her grades are very good. Miss Liang's concert is full. Boss, you didn't know that Miss Liang's concert in Beijing previously had a ticket worth more than $1,000 being sold for more than $8,000. Also, Miss Liang's Courage and the Strongest Familiar album have sold for more than 1,000,000 RMB in China. Zhou Hao nodded his head in satisfaction. Xiaobing's results are indeed very good, but the company also needs to pay attention to the excavation and training of other newbies. It is impossible for Xiaobing to support the entire North Pole Star by herself. Boss, Mr. Wang knows. Guo Chengtao said, our company has already selected a lot of talented singers and actors in the country. Seeking in Hong Kong has also recruited a lot of new people. By the way, Xiao Hao, I heard that your Kangxi dynasty has already been broadcasted. Zhao Yuqin said to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao nodded and smiled. Yes, it has already been officially broadcasted at Central TV. I heard from Wang Zhonglei that it is very popular. Zhou Hao smiled at Zhao Yuqin and said, Wang Zhongjuan is really amazing, to be able to broadcast Great Emperor Kangxi at Central TV. Actually, in the early stages of development of North Pole Star, Zhou Hao had borrowed a lot of the Zhao family's power in the country because he needed a lot of connections to help North Pole Star. Later, after Zhou Hao took Wang Zhongjuan and Wang Zhonglei under his banner, he had specifically told them not to rely on the Zhao family for the development of the North Pole Star in the future. Zhou Hao didn't want to trouble the Zhao family too much, and he didn't want the Northern Pole Star to rely on the Zhao family's stars. Not only the North Pole Star, but also the Heavenly River. He wouldn't be able to rely on the Zhao family anymore in the later stages of his development. He had to make use of the strength he had built to develop for a long time. Wang Zhongjuan was able to broadcast Kangxi dynasty at Central TV, even though Central TV was more or less on the account of the Zhao family. However, the most important thing was the quality and potential of Kangxi dynasty, as well as the increasing strength of North Pole Star. One had to know that the North Pole Star was the only private television station in the country that had a communication satellite. Zhou Hao also knew that the North Pole Star's current achievements could not be without Wang Zhongjuan and Wang Zhonglei's talent, apart from relying on his huge financial support. When Zhou Hao handed over the script of Kangxi Dynasty and the role of the main character to the Wang brothers, he had completely become a hands-off manager, how to start filming, how to set up the scene, how to poach Chen Daoming and the other main actors, and so on. All of these were done by the Wang brothers. Wang Zhongjuan is still in Beijing, right? Zhou Hao asked Guo Chongtao. Guo Chongtao nodded. Yes, boss. Mr. Wang Zhongjuan is currently in the middle of selecting new students in Shadow Academy. Not long after, Zhou Hao and his group arrived at the headquarters of North Pole Star. This was a business building that was more than 30 stories tall, called Jing Runic Building. Besides the headquarters of the North Pole Star Media Group, it was also the office of the Galaxy Satellite TV Company. When Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin got off the car, they saw Wang Zhonglei, who was walking towards them from the lobby on the first floor. Boss. Wang Zhonglei's temperament was very similar to Wang Zhongjuan's. Once he saw Zhou Hao, he gave him a bear hug without saying anything. Zhou Hao looked at him with amusement. You are finally done with your work? I heard from Chong Tao that you are always so busy that you don't even eat. Hee, boss, didn't you tell us before that the capable should work more? Wang Zhonglei smiled at Zhou Hao and said, I am no longer a vigorous young man. I will take advantage of my good health to work harder for a few more years. Boss, you have given us brothers such a good opportunity. We can't let you down no matter what. Seeing Wang Zhonglei's grateful expression, Zhou Hao started to sweat in his heart. Strictly speaking, he should have taken away their opportunity to develop. At this time, Wang Zhonglei invited Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin into Jing Runic Building. The overall decoration of the Jing Runic Scene Building was generous and proper. The working atmosphere was thick and not dull and dull. Wang Zhonglei introduced Zhou Hao as he walked, and also brought him to tour the various departments and recording rooms of Galaxy Television along the way. The current Galaxy Television had all the programs that the television stations should have, especially the news department of Galaxy Television. It had its own interview team and was very sensitive to domestic news. After that, Wang Zhonglei brought Zhou Hao to an office on the highest floor. This office was specially prepared for Zhou Hao by the Wang brothers. Although the Wang brothers were the actual leaders of the Northern Pole Star Media Group, the owner of the Northern Pole Star had always been Zhou Hao, and his status couldn't be denied. Zhao Yuqin looked at Zhou Hao's spacious and luxuriously decorated office and smiled. This office of yours is very beautiful. It is much bigger than my father's office. Zhou Hao felt embarrassed when he heard that. He smiled bitterly and said, Sister, how can it be the same? Godfather is the leader of the country. The office is mainly from a practical point of view. At this time, the door of Zhou Hao's private office was pushed open. Then, he saw a familiar figure walk in. Zhou Hao was slightly stunned when he saw this person. Then he smiled and said, Liang Jiashu, why are you here? Aren't you in Hong Kong? The person who came was Liang Jiashu. He walked in and said to Zhou Hao with a smile. During this period of time, Galaxy Television Station and Asia Television Limited Television Station have been exchanging talents. This, Xian Jiwei and Qin Shisan just returned from this place, and now it's my turn to come here. Wang Zhonglei, who was present, smiled at Zhou Hao and said, Elder Liang is an outstanding producer. He has provided many good suggestions to our Galaxy Television Station, and has also brought many advanced management methods. No matter how excellent he is, can he be better than our boss? Our boss didn't decide on this TV station exchange event. Therefore, this credit should belong to our boss. Liang Jiashu said with a smile. Zhou Hao glared at him. When did you start flattering me? I am not Xiao Yifu. Liang Jiashu pretended to be wronged. I am telling the truth. I am not bootlicking. At this moment, he saw Zhao Yuqin, who was beside Zhou Hao, and was stunned. All these years, whether it was in Hong Kong or abroad, he had seen countless beauties, but none of them could be compared to Zhao Yuqin in front of him. He immediately said to Zhao Yuqin, Miss, are you interested in joining the entertainment industry? Have you had a celebrity dream before? Then you can join our company. I promise you, you can definitely. Before he could finish, Zhou Hao raised his hand. Stop, stop, stop. Liang Jiashu, why is your occupational disease constantly changing? Only then did Liang Jiashu come back to his senses. When he saw the angry Zhou Hao and the gentle and smiling Zhao Yuqin, he scratched his head and said, Sorry, boss. We have been selecting new people for the company during this period of time. Once we see a beautiful couple, we will bear with it. I can't help it. This lady, I'm afraid she isn't our lady boss, right? Zhou Hao was too lazy to argue with this old man. He turned to Wang Zhonglei and asked, Kangxi Dynasty has already begun broadcasting. What TV series is Galaxy planning to film next? Wang Zhonglei said, Boss, we have already started filming the 2 scripts that you gave us previously. We estimate that it will be broadcast next year. Boss, we have also started preparing the interview program that you mentioned earlier. We followed boss's instructions and put Chen Luyu in the news department as the news anchor for the past 2 months. She is very talented and capable. It should not be a problem for her to deal with Luyu's interview program. He suddenly showed a hesitant look. Zhou Hao said, "Is there anything else?" Boss, recently a staff member of Galaxy Satellite TV suggested that we plan a late-night interview program. Wang Zhonglei said, "The main content is about the problems that women often encounter in modern life, such as love marriage, family ethics, and various problems they encounter in the workplace. I think this is a good suggestion. However, there is no precedent for this type of program in the country. Moreover, the program will involve a lot of moral issues. I'm afraid that it will cause controversy in the society after it is broadcasted." Zhou Hao frowned because he had heard of this type of program in his previous life. It was usually very popular among the audience, especially the female audience, because as society developed, the status of women in society became more and more important. The problems they encountered in work, life, and relationships became more and more important. Zhou Hao also felt that this type of program was not bad, especially since there were no programs of the same type in the country. Galaxy Television could be the first person to eat crabs. He asked, "What's the name of this program?" Originally, when Wang Zhonglei saw Zhou Hao frown, he thought that he was not satisfied with this program, but now he heard him ask. He quickly said, "The program's name is Temporarily Unguarded Tonight. It is mainly composed of 2 parts of the conversation and story. Each episode is about 60 to 70 minutes, and the content of the program is based on the actual case." Boss, this is the program's proposal. Take a look first. Zhou Hao took the proposal book and flipped it open. He took a look and found that the contents were not bad. He handed it to Zhao Yuqin, who was beside him. "Sister, what do you think of this program?" Zhao Yuqin browsed for a while and nodded as she watched. "It's very good. Personally, I am also quite interested in this kind of show." Therefore, Zhou Hao smiled at Wang Zhonglei and said, "Then go do it. As for you saying that you are afraid of causing a dispute in society, isn't that even better? You can give our Galaxy Satellite TV a free advertisement." "Got it, boss. I'll get someone to do it right away," Wang Zhonglei said excitedly. He was very optimistic about this program. Initially, he was afraid that Zhou Hao would not agree to it, but now he could do it freely. After that, Zhou Hao looked at Liang Jiashu and asked with a smile, "How's the situation in Asia Television Limited?" "Very good. In the past, Asia Television Limited was suppressed by wireless attacks. Now, Asia Television Limited has gained the upper hand." Liang Jiashu smiled and said, "Of course, this is not without Miss Su's credit." In front of Zhao Yuqin, the lady boss, he did not dare to mention Su Lin and avoided mentioning her. "I Have a Date with Zombies." The first episode of I Have a Date with Zombies has finished broadcasting. The second episode has also finished half of the filming. Also, Li Xiaoji had already started filming. Traversing 4 seas. Chai Jiping's Meteor Garden was progressing smoothly. It was estimated that it would be broadcast in the first half of next year. "Oh right, boss. The condition for the which you gave us has been announced by the Asia Television Limited that it can be turned on." "Oh, Demon Girl condition can be turned on?" Zhou Hao asked with interest, because this TV series was specially written for Li Ruolin. The content was also about teacher-student relationships. Liang Jiashu smiled and said, "Yes, boss. We all think that your script is very good. There should be a good market for it. However, Hong Kong doesn't have such a TV series, so we're not sure if the audience will accept it. After all, the relationship between a teacher and a student is very different from a normal relationship." Zhou Hao leaned back and smiled at him. Actually, Hong Kong has already broadcasted a TV series about teacher-student relationships. It's also very popular. It can be called a classic. Is there such a drama in Hong Kong? Liang Jiashu knew the history of Hong Kong's TV series like the back of his hand, but he did not know about such a TV series. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "It's the Divine Condor couple. It's Yang Guo and Little Dragon Girl. You dare say that their love isn't a teacher-student relationship?" When Zhou Hao persuaded Yin Tong to agree to be with Li Ruolin, he used the Divine Condor heroic couple as a metaphor. When they heard Zhou Hao's words, Liang Jiashu, Wang Zhonglei, and the others burst into laughter. Zhao Yuqin also rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao felt a little guilty and did not dare to respond to Zhao Yuqin. He asked Liang Jiashu, "Then who is going to be the main character of the Asia Television Limited?" Liang Jiashu immediately took out 2 photos from his pocket and placed them on the table in front of Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin saw that the two photos were of a beautiful and mature woman and a handsome young man. Zhao Yuqin did not know these two men and women, but Zhou Hao was very familiar with them. The people in the photos were Chun Farong and Wu Zun. Zhou Hao felt that it was quite appropriate for them to act as the male and female leads in the condition of witches. Chun Farong's appearance was not inferior to the original Matsutani vegetables. Moreover, the two of them had similar temperaments and were very suitable to act as the female teacher in the movie. As for Wu Zun, after Zhou Hao had asked people to find him from Brink, he had been receiving artist training. He should have made some progress by now. Wu Zun was only 17 or 18 years old. Moreover, he was more simple and honest than when Zhou Hao met him in his previous life, so he was naturally suitable to be the male lead in the movie. Then let them play the role. Zhou Hao said, "This movie is very important to me. So Liang Jiashu, tell the Asia Television Limited to take care of it properly." "Of course." Liang Jiashu said respectfully, "By the way, boss, after we discussed with Huanan Television Station, we prepared to let Pearl Returning Gige be broadcasted during the Spring Festival. Now, Asia Television Limited is dubbing for Pearl Returning Gige." Zhou Hao nodded. As far as he knew, in his previous life, Pearl Returning Gige had been broadcasted. It had only been broadcasted in the middle of 1998. The reason was that Hunan Television Station wanted to make full use of the publicity, which was why the broadcast had been delayed. Now that the people of Asia Television Limited had fought for it, they had allowed it to be broadcasted in advance. However, Zhou Hao knew that this would not have much impact on Hunan Television Station. This was because the Cantonese version of Pearl Gige from the Asia Television Limited would at most cover Hong Kong, Australia, and the Pearl Triangular region, while the Hunan Television Station's target was the entire country. Furthermore, the internet was not developed yet, so television dramas could not be spread through the internet like Zhou Hao had in his previous life. Therefore, the broadcast of Returning Pearl to Gige by Asia Television Limited during the Spring Festival actually did not have much of an impact on Huanan Television Station's original plan. This was also the reason why Huanan Television Station agreed to the Asia Television Limited's proposal. "Sister, did we tell Jukin Sitaku to let the main actor of Pearl Returning Gige sign an endorsement contract with Heavenly River last time?" Zhou Hao turned his head and asked Zhao Yuqin. Zhao Yuqin tilted her head and thought for a while and said, "Yes, you have already given him instructions the last time. But Xiao Hao, will Returning Pearl Gige really become as popular as you said? You've never seen it before." She understood that Zhou Hao had taken the actors of Returning Pearl Gige into his own camp early on. If Returning Pearl Gige was really as popular as Zhou Hao had said, it would spread all over the country. Then the Sky River product endorsed by Zhao Wei and the others would definitely sell like crazy. But the only problem was whether Pearl Returning Gige would become as popular as Zhou Hao had said. Zhou Hao smiled. "Personally, I think this Qing Palace film is the most influential one by Aunt Xiong. Sister, don't worry. For so long, have my foresight been missed?" To be honest, Zhou Hao was not as crazy as the teenagers in his previous life for Returning Pearl to Gige. He was not the kind of person who would shed tears for romance dramas. Currently, he was only looking at Pearl Returning Gige from a commercial point of view. He was trying to maximize the benefits that Pearl Returning Gige could bring him. The contract Heavenly River signed with Zhao Wei, Lin Xinru, and the others was a 3-year contract. Zhou Hao knew that the game would be popular for about 3 years. At the same time, Wang Zhongjuan, Wang Zhonglei, and the others wanted to poach Zhao Wei and Lin Xinru to the North Pole Star when they saw how important it was to Zhou Hao. However, Huanan Television Station also had high hopes for the game and refused to let them go. Therefore, Wang Zhongjuan and the others had no choice but to return in defeat. After Zhou Hao knew, he only smiled. In his eyes, Zhao Wei and Lin Xinru were not that valuable. Even if Zhao Wei became famous because of Pearl Returning Gige, she could still call the wind and summon the rain in the entertainment circle in China. However, Zhou Hao was confident that with the ability of North Pole Star, it would be as easy as flipping his palm to create a mere Zhao Wei. What Zhou Hao cared about was Fan Bingbing, the golden lock Fan Bingbing, who no one else cared about. Zhou Hao knew the potential of this woman. That was why he had asked Wang Zhongjuan to dig her out a long time ago. After spending more than $1 million, Wang Zhongjuan bought Fan Bingbing's contract from Hunan Television Station. Actually, according to Fan Bingbing's current net worth, $1 million was too much. This was also Hunan Television Station's intention to demand an exorbitant price. However, Zhou Hao didn't care at all. Fan Bingbing's value far exceeded $1 million. Also, the script that you gave us previously, Liang Jiashu said, it's the blue romance of life and death and the winter romance song. We plan to start filming in the second half of next year. It will probably be broadcasted in the 9th year of Asia Television Limited. It will be the two most important scenes in the 9th year of Asia Television Limited. What do you think, boss? Zhou Hao nodded. That's good, but you need to pay attention to the selection of the two dramas. Not only do actors have to have good looks, but they also have to have good acting skills. Producers and directors like you need to take good care of them. In his previous life, Korean dramas started to become popular in Asia from these two dramas. They also started a trend in China. Zhou Hao admitted that these two dramas were very classic, but he didn't want Korean culture to invade China, especially to the young people in China. Therefore, Zhou Hao decided to film these two dramas first and start the trend of idols in China. Other than occupying the TV market, he also wanted to prevent the Korean culture from invading and even influence them through dramas. Zhou Hao said to Liang Jiashu, "Remember not to make these two dramas in a rush. I want you to make these two dramas into the best quality and make them into the signature works of Asia Television Limited. Also, I have already given you the theme song and the theme music of these two dramas. Remember to make them well." "Boss, don't worry. We'll definitely do this well." Liang Jiashu said, "We have already invited Zhang Xinjia to sing the theme song of Winter's Romance from the beginning until now, as you said, boss. However, his schedule is quite tight during this period of time. He might need some time before he can come out." "It doesn't matter. There's no hurry." Zhou Hao waved his hand. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. A beautiful woman wearing a silk dress and a short skirt walked in with a glass of Sprite. She had obviously been carefully dressed up and looked very eye-catching. Moreover, this woman was swaying as she walked. Her butt, which was tightly wrapped by the skirt, was very attractive. Once she walked in, Wang Zhonglei and Liang Jiashu's gazes were unconsciously drawn over. They saw this woman walk towards Zhou Hao with a charming smile and put the Sprite on the table that he had used to live on. When she bent over, most of the snow-white breasts were exposed in front of Zhou Hao. "Mr. Zhou, your Sprite." She glanced at Zhou Hao, and her pair of phoenix eyes kept releasing electricity. "Oh, thank you." Zhou Hao was used to seeing such a stunning beauty like Zhao Yuqin, so he didn't lose himself like Liang Jiashu and the others when it came to this woman in front of him. Furthermore, Zhao Yuqin was still by his side. Even if he was really interested, he couldn't show it. After putting down the Sprite, the woman left with her but twisted. Seeing her but swaying left and right as if it was going to burst her skirt, Wang Zhonglei and Liang Jiashu almost popped their eyes out. Zhao Yuqin glared at Zhou Hao and did not say anything. Zhou Hao smiled and said to Wang Zhonglei, "Wang Zhonglei, you really know how to enjoy it. This is your secretary, right?" Wang Zhonglei quickly shook his head. "No, boss. Didn't you see my secretary? It's Gua Chongtao. I remember this woman is a news anchor of our Galaxy Satellite TV network. Why is she a secretary?" Zhou Hao thought for a moment and understood. That woman must have found out from someone that he was the boss of North Pole Star. So she found an opportunity to appear in front of him so that she could get the chance to rise. Zhou Hao shook his head. He had no interest in this kind of woman who relied on her body to rise to the top. At the same time, he said to Wang Zhonglei, "Wang Zhonglei, you guys have to deal with the matters of the North Pole Star. I don't want the North Pole Star to become the bed of unspoken rules." "Boss, I understand." Wang Zhonglei touched the cold sweat on his forehead and changed the topic at the same time. "By the way, boss, we have found that Zhou Jielin you asked us to find earlier." Since he had already put his hand into the entertainment industry, Zhou Hao naturally wouldn't let go of the most famous male celebrity of the 21st century, Jay Zhou. Furthermore, the current Zhou Jielin was only a young man who had nothing but enthusiasm and opportunities. There was no better chance to win him over than now. Therefore, when Zhou Hao found the mother of Taiwanese idols, Chai Jiping, he had already asked her to search for Zhou Jielin's traces in Taiwan. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox Editor, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. Besides Zhou Jielin, his golden partner, Fang Wenshan, could not be let off either. Zhou Hao asked Liang Jiashu, "Where is he now?" "In Beijing. He transferred from Hong Kong to Beijing. I think he went on a vacation." Coincidentally, Mr. Wang Zhongjuan's men found him. Liang Jiashu said, "Mr. Wang Zhongjuan has already left him behind and is waiting for your decision. There is no need to think about it. Ask Wang Zhongjuan to sign him immediately." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "I will be going to Beijing in a few days. It is a good time to meet him." Liang Jiashu nodded. Actually, he was not very interested in that Zhou Jielin. He had seen the song that Wang Zhongjuan had brought back. Liang Jiashu felt that the style of the song was too different. It sounded like a group of people were reciting scriptures there. Furthermore, Even if Joe Dillon could compose and play the piano, he could find new singers everywhere. As long as the company was willing to support him, most of them would be able to make a name for themselves. However, since it was Zhou Hao who wanted to find Zhou Jelen, Liang Jiashu and the others naturally had to do it according to the boss's wishes. Besides, even if Zhou Jelen was an idiot in music, he could still soar into the sky with the support of the North Pole Star. Besides, there was also Zhou Hao, a music master. Liang Xiaobing was only a television artist in the past, but now she had become the most popular female singer in China. One more thing, Liang Jiashu said with a smile. Boss, this year's Hong Kong Film Awards ceremony will be broadcasted live by our Asia Television Limited. I heard that when Xiao Yifu heard this news, he even cursed the Guang administration. Zhou Hao was also surprised when he heard this. Asia Television Limited took down the live broadcast rights for the Golden Statue Awards ceremony? Liang Jiashu kept nodding his head. Yes, this is all thanks to Miss Su. It was all because of her that she got the live broadcast rights. Wireless originally wanted to dampen our spirits by winning the live broadcast rights for this year's awards ceremony. Boss, you didn't see how arrogant they were. Xiao Yifu was so angry that he almost had a heart attack. Serves him right. After hearing what Liang Jiashu said, Zhou Hao felt quite relieved in his heart. Sure enough, Su Lin did not let him down. Hong Kong Film and Image Awards had always been broadcasted live by Wireless Television Limited. When Lin Baixin had the Asia Television Limited, he had also wanted to seize the rights to broadcast, but he never got what he wanted. He did not expect Su Lin to do it this time. After resting for a while, Zhou Hao told Wang Zhonglei that he wanted to visit the Hongdian Film and Television City. Wang Zhonglei quickly agreed. After all, the Hongdian Film and Television City had 30% of Zhou Hao's shares. Therefore, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin boarded a commercial vehicle on the North Pole Star and followed Wang Zhonglei to the Hongdian Film and Television City. As for Liang Jiashu, he naturally did not fall behind. He followed them to join in the fun. Up until now, the Hongdian Film Studio City was still expanding continuously, increasing all kinds of large-scale scenes, including some of the famous attractions in some of the ancient cities. The imitation was very high. After entering the film studio city, it really gave people the feeling that they had returned to the ancient times. This largest film studio city in all of China and even in all of Asia, not only was it large in area and scale, but the quality of its art was also very high. Zhao Yuqin looked at the towering and magnificent ancient city outside and also sighed to Zhou Hao. I've also been to the Eights, Changchun, Shanghai and other movie factories. They can't compare to this place. Wang Zhonglei, who was in front, smiled and said, Miss Zhao, they are all here to take a look. Zhou Hao moved closer to Zhao Yuqin's ear and whispered, Sister, if you want, I will write a script for you to be the main character. What do you think? The name will be called City Toppling Beauty, okay? Hearing the meaning of Zhou Hao's words praising her, Zhao Yuqin felt sweet in her heart and pushed him at the same time. Okay. When my name is good, I will dump you. Then, I will take care of a gigolo. Sister, you are a typical example of breaking the bridge after crossing the river. Zhou Hao's hand secretly touched her plump thigh. Zhao Yuqin looked at him reproachfully and said, I do not want to be an actor. It is too hard. And if he really became famous, then I will completely lose my private space. Besides, my dad won't agree to it either. Zhao Yuqin was telling the truth. With Zhao Rixin's identity, how could he allow Zhao Yuqin to be the actress who showed up in the public? Furthermore, with Zhao Yuqin's beautiful appearance, as long as she went on television, it would definitely shake the entire country. At that time, she would have to face even more turbulent wasps and butterflies. Zhou Hao did not want to get into trouble. So after thinking about it, Zhou Hao felt that it was better to hide Zhao Yuqin in his house and only let him admire her. Along the way, Zhou Hao and the others saw many filming crew members in the film city and some tourists who came in to visit. Not long after, the group arrived at the filming location of the North Pole Star and Great Ming Palace. In the scene, actors dressed in ancient clothing were putting all their effort into acting, and the surrounding staff members were operating various machines. The actors dressed in ancient outfits and modern staff members formed a very comical scene, which made Zhou Hao feel somewhat amused. According to Wang Zhonglei, the production team was currently filming some scenes from the 8th to 10th episodes. Zhou Hao also saw a young girl dressed in red palace attire, walking leisurely in front of the camera. She looked quite dignified like an ancient princess. Although her appearance was much younger, Zhou Hao still recognized this young girl who was not stunning but could be considered pretty. She was Zhou Sun, who would become famous in the future. The current her was playing the role of the young Princess Ping Yang in the Great Ming Palace poetry. In fact, other than Zhou Sun, most of the actors used in the Great Ming Palace poetry, filmed by the North Pole Star crew, were exactly the same as in Zhou Hao's previous life. This was because the Great Ming Palace poetry from his previous life was also shot in 1998, but it was not at the beginning of January, but around the middle of the year. Zhou Hao originally wanted to use his own memory to recreate the Great Ming Palace poetry script, but he heard Wang Zhongjuan say that he had seen a rough script. After Wang Zhongjuan's introduction, Zhou Hao knew that there was a production team that wanted to film Great Ming Palace poetry. At that time, the production team was discussing with the Central Television Station's Wuxi Tai Lake Film Studio Company, but they had not succeeded. Therefore, Zhou Hao made a prompt decision and asked Wang Zhongjuan to find the production team and provide them with investments. Zhou Hao also agreed to let the production team invite the actors in their plan, which resulted in a very similar lineup to the actors in Zhou Hao's previous life, the poetry of the Great Ming Palace. That girl is not bad, but you guys can examine her again. If she really has potential, then let the company sign a contract with her. The deadline must not be less than 7 years. Zhou Hao pointed at Zhou Sun in the distance and said to Wang Zhonglei, who was beside him. Wang Zhonglei looked at Zhou Hao strangely. He now suspected that Zhou Hao, like those movie owners, wanted to hire female celebrities. However, Wang Zhonglei felt that it was very strange. In terms of appearance, in terms of temperament, what about that girl? She couldn't be compared to Zhao Yuqin, who was beside Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao noticed Wang Zhonglei's gaze and said with a stern face, "What are you thinking about? I just think that girl has some potential and is worth nurturing. What are you thinking about?" "Oh, I know. Wang Zhonglei hurriedly nodded his head, but he did not believe Zhou Hao's words in his heart. Zhou Hao did not care what Wang Zhonglei thought anymore. Anyway, his interest in Zhou Sun was only in business. Zhao Yuqin, who was next to him, saw Zhou Hao's helpless expression and covered her mouth to laugh secretly. She naturally believed that Zhou Hao did not take a fancy to Zhou Sun. Although Zhou Sun's appearance was passable, he was much worse than Wang Shijuan, Li Ruolin, and the others who were beside Zhou Hao. Even Situ Jianying, who was not so stunning among the girls, was prettier than her. Furthermore, Zhou Hao had never come into contact with her before, so why would he take a fancy to her for no reason? On the contrary, when the surrounding staff saw Zhao Yuqin, they were stunned. They thought that if a girl like Zhao Yuqin were to act, the Great Ming Palace poetry would definitely become the most popular TV series in the country in the past 10 years. "Who are you? Hey. What are you doing?" Suddenly, there was a loud noise behind them. Zhou Hao, Zhao Yuqin and the others looked over and saw a group of strong men holding iron sticks and wooden clubs aggressively walking over. There were dozens of people, and they even pushed down a few staff members over there. "Who the F***CK asked you to film here? Didn't I say last time that we are not allowed to film here?" The leader, a man in his 30s, shouted at the staff. Zhou Hao frowned, and Wang Zhonglei, the manager of North Pole Star, immediately walked up and shouted at the man, "Who are you people? Why aren't we allowed to film here? Isn't this the property of the Hongdian Film and Television City? Our company is a shareholder of the Hongdian Film and Television City. Are we disturbing you when we film in our own place?" The man raised his eyebrows and sneered. "That's right, it's hindering us. The land in your film studio complex belongs to our village. We didn't agree to sell the land to you back then. King invaded the farmland. What nonsense are you talking about? We have complete procedures for buying and selling the land. What right do you have to say that we are invading the farmland?" Wang Zhonglei did not look weak. The man pushed Wang Zhonglei and said to the people behind him, "Brothers, ignore them. Beat them up." Just as those men were about to swing their iron rods and wooden clubs at the crew's photography equipment, they saw a green brick fly out of thin air and hit the forehead of the man in the lead. The man let out a miserable cry and fell to the ground with his face facing upwards. He had already passed out with blood flowing out of his head. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. On the other side, Zhou Hao let out a cold snort. "Let's see who dares to move." Obviously, that brick just now was thrown by him. The surrounding crew members also picked up their handy tools, or triangles or reflectors, looking like they were ready to defend it to the death. When the men who came to cause trouble saw that the crew members had become tough, and that their leader had been knocked out by Zhou Hao's brick, they did not dare to act rashly for a moment. Zhou Hao asked loudly, "Are you a local? Why did you come here to cause trouble?" The land in the film studio city was all traded through legal procedures. This is no longer your village's land. If anyone dares to cause trouble here again, I will lock all of you in jail. A staff member beside Zhou Hao said, "Boss, this is not the first time these people have come. Last time they came to threaten us, we were not allowed to film here, and they even destroyed one of our VCDs. It wasn't just us. The other film crew members who were filming in the film city were also threatened by them. Just now, they had already chased away quite a few of the film crew members. That's why they came to our place. Zhou Hao asked Wang Zhonglei, who had already returned, "Then why didn't you call the police?" Wang Zhonglei said helplessly, "I did. The police arrested them and locked them up for a few days before letting them out again." Zhou Hao said coldly, "The film studio city belongs to our company too. How can we let them come here to cause trouble?" His tone carried a hint of blame. Wang Zhonglei's neck shrunk as he thought to himself, although the boss was young, he was very powerful when he got angry. At the same time, a man in his 50s or 60s was supported by a few people as he walked over. He was holding his left forehead, and his face was still stained with blood. Clearly, he was injured. He came in front of the group of people and pointed at them. "You thugs, what right do you have to be adults? Is there still a law?" Looking at his appearance, he should have been injured by those men. Zhou Hao looked at this little old man with amusement. He only had 5 or 6 people on his side, but there were 50 or 60 people on his side. He really had the guts to challenge them. However, in the next moment, Zhou Hao frowned because he saw that the men holding little old man all had a very strong murderous aura. Zhou Hao could tell with one look that those guys must have had their hands stained with human lives. Judging from their cold and calm expressions, they were obviously from the army. Therefore, Zhou Hao immediately guessed that the angry little old man was not an ordinary person. How did the security in China become like this? Didn't they say that under the control of the Communist Party, the domestic environment is getting better and better? Little old man was still complaining. Zhou Hao knew that little old man was not from the country when he heard that. It was most likely that he was a foreigner or something. At this moment, the men in front of him who were holding sticks couldn't stand the nagging of little old man. After cursing, they raised the sticks in their hands and wanted to give it to him again. But just as they raised their hands, the bodyguards beside old man immediately took action. They stretched out their hands and made a move. The men screamed and took off their hands immediately. The joints of their wrists were instantly removed. Those are soldiers, and they are not from the normal army. They might be from the special forces. Seeing the skills of old man's bodyguards, Zhao Yuqin immediately said to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao nodded. At the same time, the troublemakers on the other side became excited when they saw their companions were injured. They immediately surrounded old man and the others. A man beside old man took out a gun and shot at the sky. "Don't move." Seeing the man pull out his gun, those people immediately stopped moving. Their faces were full of fear. At this moment, a group of over 100 soldiers walked over in an orderly fashion, and they all had guns in their hands. The soldiers quickly surrounded the troublemakers. When they saw the guns in the soldiers' hands, the men didn't dare to move. They didn't even need to speak before they put down the clubs in their hands. "Who are you? Put down the guns." When the commander of the soldiers saw the man beside old man holding a gun, he immediately shouted at him, "Brother, we are also from the Nanjing military. We are one of our own." The man looked at the soldiers around him with some doubt on his face, but he still took out an ID from his inner pocket and handed it to the commander in front of him. The commander took the ID and took a look at it. His expression changed, and he respectfully handed the ID back to him before giving a proper military salute. The man asked again, "Who sent you here?" Little old man was also puzzled when he heard that. He said to the person beside him, Weren't you the ones who called these soldiers over?" His bodyguard shook his head. At the same time, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin walked over. Zhao Yuqin asked the commander, "Hello, may I ask if Commander Zhu sent you here?" When those people came to cause trouble, Zhao Yuqin immediately called Zhu Yongquan from the Nanjing military. "You are Miss Zhao Yuqin?" Seeing Zhao Yuqin nod her head, the commander immediately saluted her. He said respectfully, "Miss Zhao, we were sent by Commander Zhu to help you arrest the criminals who caused trouble in the Hongdian film and television city. Then I'll have to trouble you to bring these guys back and ask them what is going on." Zhao Yuqin smiled and said, "No problem." The soldier who acted as old man's bodyguard looked at Zhao Yuqin with a strange look. He had just said that they were all from the Nanjing military, so they were naturally led by Zhu Yongquan. They did not know about the relationship between Zhao Yuqin and Zhu Yongquan, but they could get Zhu Yongquan to send people to help them directly. Clearly, it was not an ordinary family. Zhou Hao smiled and said to the soldier who took out the gun just now, "Are you guys also under Commander Zhu's command?" That person nodded but did not say anything. Zhou Hao immediately understood that they were probably on a mission, and it was not convenient to tell outsiders about this mission. However, Zhou Hao was a little curious about this injured little old man. He could dispatch a few special forces to protect him. He was definitely not an ordinary person, and judging from what he said just now, he should be an immigrant. Zhou Hao said to little old man, "Sir, you are injured. We have a medical room here. Why don't we accompany you to take a look?" People's first impressions were usually very important. Zhou Hao was handsome and sunny, and his attitude was sincere. Old man immediately had a good impression of this young man. He nodded and said, "Thank you." So, Zhou Hao took old man to the medical room over there. At the same time, he let Wang Zhonglei go to see the crew that was chased away and deal with the situation over there. Before they arrived at the medical room, Zhou Hao heard someone walking over quickly from behind. Turning his head, he saw a familiar figure. That person was also stunned when he saw Zhou Hao. He exclaimed, "Zhou Hao, Manager Han?" Zhou Hao was also surprised. The person who came was the general manager of Hongdian Film and Television City, Han Shixiang. He was also the important arm of the president of Hongdian Group, Su Wanrong. "Zhou Hao, you're here too?" Han Shixiang was surprised that Zhou Hao was here. When he saw the little old man beside Zhou Hao, who had half of his face covered in blood, he was even more shocked. He quickly walked forward and asked with concern, "Mr. Pang, are you hurt? Are you all right?" The young old man with the surname Pang recovered his anger when he saw Han Shixiang. He said angrily, "Han Shixiang, what's wrong with your Hongdian Film and Television City? I just came here for a tour, and suddenly I met a group of thugs. They even broke my head." Han Shixiang was obviously afraid of this little old man and quickly apologized. "Mr. Pang, I'm really sorry. Those guys are the farmers of Hongdian Town. They were ordered by others to deliberately come here to cause trouble. Mr. Pang, I'm really sorry." Zhou Hao was also very strange about the situation just now, but he said to little old man, "This is Mr. Pang, right? Don't get angry. We will get someone to bandage you first. Otherwise, you will suffer from tetanus." Little old man glared at Han Shixiang. "Humph. For the sake of this little brother, I won't argue with you for now." Then he turned around and walked into the medical room. Han Shixiang also gave Zhou Hao a grateful look. In the medical room, the doctor on duty and the nurse helped young old man clean and bandage his wound. Little old man only had superficial wounds, not serious. Han Shixiang also explained the reason for the situation to Zhou Hao when little old man was receiving treatment. "Zhou Hao, you also know that Hongdian Group is controlled by the country?" Han Shixiang said, "Although Mr. Su is the president of Hongdian Group, most of the time, he can't decide what to do in the group. Recently, a deputy general manager came to the group. His family has people working in the central government, so he came to our group to be gold-plated." Zhou Hao nodded in understanding. This kind of situation was not uncommon. Han Shixiang said, "That guy doesn't know how to manage at all. He is a complete outsider, but he tells us what to do about the company. There was once when I couldn't help but raise an objection to his words at the meeting, and I offended him just like that. He knew that I am in charge of the Hongdian Film and Television City. That's why he ordered those local farmers to cause trouble in the film and television city, causing me to feel embarrassed." "What about Mr. Pang? Who is he?" Zhou Hao asked again. "Him?" Han Shixiang looked at old man and said to Zhou Hao, "That is Mr. Pang Jinting, the chairman of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce." "President of the Indonesian Chinese Chamber of Commerce?" Zhou Hao looked at Pang Jinting in surprise. But this also confirmed Zhou Hao's thoughts. This little old man was indeed not an ordinary person. No wonder Zhu Yongquan sent people to protect him. No matter how one looked at it, Indonesia was not a big country. However, China had taken root in Indonesia for hundreds of years. Relying on their hardworking spirit, the Han obtained very good results in Indonesia. In Indonesia, whether it was the government or the people, there had been rumors that the people of China controlled most of Indonesia's economic strength for a long time. Although these rumors were exaggerated, it was not baseless. In Zhou Hao's previous life, he had read in economic statistics. The statistics showed that more than 60% of Indonesian investors were Chinese, and they were Indonesia's biggest investment group. Therefore, it was undeniable that Indonesia's economy was greatly influenced by the Indonesian economy. Just like other countries, Indonesian businessmen also formed a chamber of commerce. Zhou Hao estimated that this Indonesian chamber of commerce might not be as powerful as the other developed countries, but it was definitely not weak. He heard Han Shixiang say, "Mr. Pang came to China this time to invest in China, and he specially came to see the investment environment in China. Because Mr. Pang's ancestral home is in Zhejiang, he came here first. He came to visit our Hongdian Film Studio City today. The city government had told us to receive him well, but we didn't expect to encounter such a thing." When he thought of the fellow who went to the Transfer Store Corporation to make things difficult for Han Shixiang, He had incited the local farmers to come to the film studio city to cause trouble. Zhou Hao frowned. I'm also a major shareholder of the film studio complex, so I can't ignore this matter. Manager Han, help me tell that guy. If he knows what's good for him, he shouldn't provoke our film studio complex anymore. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Zhou Hao had already schemed against Liang Fengshan until his reputation was ruined and his soul returned to the sea. Although Liang Zhendong already knew the news of Liang Fengshan's death, he didn't know about Zhou Hao's existence at all. If that fellow really didn't know what was good for him and offended Zhou Hao wouldn't let it go so easily. Right. Does Su Wenrong know about this matter? Zhou Hao asked Han Shixiang. Aren't you his right-hand man? Now that you have been bullied, won't he help you? Han Shixiang's face revealed a sad expression. He said sadly, sigh, Zhou Hao, the relationships in the state-owned enterprises are complicated. You don't know how deep they are when you are not in the martial arts world. Even Director Su doesn't dare to offend that guy. When he said this, his eyes showed some dissatisfaction. Director Su's fearless effort back then is now gone. Sigh. After all these years, Director Su's edges have been flattened. Zhou Hao could tell that Han Shixiang was dissatisfied with the fact that Su Wenrong didn't stand up for him. Immediately, a thought popped up in Zhou Hao's mind. Han Shixiang was a rare talent. In terms of academic qualifications, Han Shixiang had not graduated from junior high school, which meant that he did not have any professional skills. However, the management experience gained through years of practice and his smooth interpersonal relationships were essential to senior management. When he first bought the shares of Hongdian Film and Television, Zhou Hao had the idea of recruiting Han Shixiang. However, at that time, Han Shixiang was deeply moved by Su Wenrong's kindness and was unwilling to leave him. Therefore, this was a good opportunity for Zhou Hao. However, this matter could not be rushed. Furthermore, although Su Wenrong did not stand up for Han Shixiang might not abandon Su Wenrong. Han Shixiang's personality was also what Zhou Hao valued. Zhou Hao felt that for a company, under many circumstances, the character of an employee was more important than talent. Zhou Hao was not in a hurry to recruit Han Shixiang. Furthermore, it was Zhou Hao's habit to plan before making a move. Before making a move, he had to consider all kinds of factors. At this time, Peng Jinting, who had finished bandaging, came to Zhou Hao's side. He patted Zhou Hao's shoulder and said with a smile, "Little brother, I don't think you are a child of an ordinary family. Moreover, those filming just now seem to respect you. Could it be that you are their boss?" Hee, Elder Peng, your eyesight is really good. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "You guessed right. That production crew is from my company." "Oh right, my company is also a shareholder of this Hongdian Film Studio City." "Oh, let me introduce myself first. My name is Zhou Hao. Hello, Elder Peng." After saying that, he extended his right hand to Peng Jinting. Peng Jinting held Zhou Hao's hand. "Sigh, I heard that there was a big film studio city in my hometown, so I came here to take a look. I didn't expect to meet such a group of thugs, which made me suffer a bloody disaster." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Didn't Commander Zhu send those few big brothers to protect you, Elder Peng? Were they unable to protect you? I will immediately tell Commander Zhu to punish them properly." When those few Special Forces soldiers heard Zhou Hao's words, they also knew that he was joking, but they also revealed helpless expressions. Peng Jinting scratched his head in embarrassment. "Actually, it's not their fault. It's because I think they are troublesome to follow us. So I came here alone and walked away. I didn't expect to meet those thugs as soon as I walked away." Peng Jinting had a good impression of Zhou Hao. He smiled at him and said, "Zhou Hao, little brother Zhou, are you free? Anyway, I have nothing to do today. Let's find a place to sit." "All right, that's exactly what I wanted." Zhou Hao smiled brightly. There was a hotel in the film studio city. Wang Zhonglei immediately booked a room for Zhou Hao and the others. Han Shixiang originally wanted to accompany Peng Jinting, but after what happened just now, Peng Jinting complained to him. Han Shixiang also had to deal with the aftermath of the farmers coming to the film studio city, so he could not follow them. The guest room's location was still very good. The wide floor-to-ceiling windows allowed one to see most of the scenery in the film studio city. It was very spectacular. Accompanying Peng Jinting and Zhou Hao, apart from Zhao Yuqin, there was also Wang Zhonglei. During the feast, Peng Jinting raised the champagne to Zhou Hao and laughed loudly. "I didn't expect you to have such a big family business at such a young age. Hee, I'm afraid that this is the only private television station in China that has a communication satellite." "Elder Peng, you flatter me." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Actually, I'm just in charge of funding. It's all thanks to Wang Zhonglei and the others that I can achieve today's results." Wang Zhonglei was secretly touched by Zhou Hao's words, and Pang Jinting was also very appreciative of Zhou Hao in his heart. There were very few young people who had such a huge business, but were not arrogant at all. Brother Zhou, this girl is your wife, right? Pang Jinting looked at Zhao Yuqin, who was by Zhou Hao's side and thoughtfully adding wine and dishes for him, and said with a smile, Brother Zhou, you are so lucky. Zhao Yuqin was generous and polite when she heard Pang Jinting's praise. She smiled and nodded at him, and the atmosphere became tense. By the way, Elder Pang, I heard from Manager Han that you want to come back and invest. Hee, it just so happens that I also do some investment business. Pang Jinting sighed. Actually, I am also forced by helplessness. Indonesia had been affected by the financial storm a while ago. Many of the business of our Chamber of Commerce had suffered a huge blow. Also, I won't hide it from you, Brother Zhou. We feel that Indonesia's political situation is a bit unstable. Zhou Hao and Pang Jinting both knew that when Indonesia's political situation was unstable, the Indonesian government would often point the blame at Indonesian people in order to shift the domestic conflicts. In Zhou Hao's previous life, during the 1998 incident in Indonesia, it was because of the corruption of Indonesian President Suharto that the Indonesian government was exposed. In addition, the financial storm caused the economic decline of Indonesia. In order to divert the attention of the people in the country, Suharto's government strongly advocated that it was because the Indonesian controlled Indonesia's economy that this situation was created, and that the fury of the people in the country was poured onto the local people. Later on, all kinds of evidence showed that Indonesia's military played a very important role in the Tanhua incident. Therefore, with Pang Jinting in the lead, the upper echelons of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce planned to prepare a way out and transfer their funds to China. Zhou Hao said, Elder Pang, I'm afraid it's too late for you to make any moves now. It was already January 198. In Zhou Hao's memory, the second wave of financial storms in Asia happened in Indonesia in January 1998. In other words, the second wave of financial storms would happen in this month. According to my analysis, the financial storms will start again soon, and the first wave will be Indonesia. Zhou Hao said with a serious expression, and if you want to transfer the funds, the Indonesian government will not let you go so easily. This was because many countries had very strict control over the funds that were transferred out of the country. Moreover, under the shadow of the financial storm, the Indonesian government would not allow the domestic funds to be transferred out of the country on a large scale. Pang Jinting was an old fox who had been in the business world for many years. His sharp senses told him that the financial storm would soon set off a second wave. Moreover, what Zhou Hao said was the truth. The Indonesian government would not easily transfer the funds of the Chinese out. Elder Pang, do you know that the Indonesian President Suharto and his family have stolen tens of billions of Indonesian wealth? Zhou Hao asked Pang Jinting. As far as Zhou Hao knew, Suharto and his family controlled almost all of Indonesia's monopoly industries. Pang Jinting said indignantly, How come you don't know? Many of Suharto's family's money was taken care of by the people of our Chamber of Commerce. Zhou Hao was shocked when he heard Pang Jinting's words. He didn't expect the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce to help Suharto and his family deal with the huge amount of money that was said to be corrupted. In his previous life, Zhou Hao had read a news report that Suharto and his family had robbed more than $30 billion of assets in Indonesia while Suharto was the president of Indonesia. All these assets had been transferred overseas after Suharto left the office. Suharto's family members were living a godlike life overseas. Pang Jinting coldly snorted and said, Although Suharto is the president, each of those assets is worth more than $1 billion. Such a large flow of funds will easily attract attention. The members of our company are very strong in Indonesia and even Southeast Asia, so they are the best tools for Suharto to deal with his money. Not only that, because of Suharto's crazy corruption, it often causes the government to suffer financial losses. Pang Jinting narrowed his eyes and said while gnashing his teeth in anger, In order to not be discovered, he threatened us to fill in the losses for him. F***CK. This is clearly robbing us. From Pang Jinting's words, Zhou Hao knew about the situation in Indonesia. All this time, especially after Suharto came to power, the Indonesian government had implemented many policies against the Chinese. This included leaving a special mark on the Indonesian ID card, not allowing citizens to use Mandarin. In Indonesia, the Indonesian government played the role of a second-class citizen. In Southeast Asia, China occupied a large portion of the population of various countries, especially Singapore. 90% of the population was Chinese. In Southeast Asia, many of them had their own Chamber of Commerce. In Southeast Asia, the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce was considered one of the best. The entire Indonesian Chamber of Commerce was made up of more than 200 strong China companies. They had assets of 100 billion US dollar and could be moved at any time with more than 60 billion US dollar. As the president of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce, Pang Jinting was the chairman of the Golden Court Industrial Group. The Golden Court Industrial Group was the largest Chinese company in Indonesia. Its total assets were more than 8 billion US dollars, and it mainly ran banks, buildings, and plantations. The Indonesian government and the people say that we, the Chinese, control half of Indonesia's economy. In fact, this is not baseless. Pang Jinting said, our Indonesian Chamber of Commerce's total assets are more than 100 billion US dollars. It is still far from the economic value of Indonesia. However, our Indonesian Chamber of Commerce has a very high position in Indonesia's Chinaman community. Maybe it is in a foreign land, but we are united. Those small entrepreneurs who run shops, restaurants, etc., are very cooperative with our China Chamber of Commerce. If we add them in, our impression of Indonesia's economy will be very big. His eyes were full of dissatisfaction. But, although our people live a better life than Indonesia, but we don't have any political power at all. In Indonesia, the Han can't even participate in politics or join the army, and the government doesn't even allow us to use Chinese names. Pang Jinting tapped on the table. They want us to be a group of fat sheep without any resistance. Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin could feel Pang Jinting's anger. Pang Jinting said, under their oppression, some of the Chinese have surrendered. In order to completely integrate into the Indonesian circle, they no longer admit that they are Han. They even feel ashamed of being Han. Those people who forget their ancestors. Zhou Hao also knew that there were roughly two types of people from overseas. They were the traditional Chinese and those from the Straits. The traditional Chinese firmly remembered their motherland. They always adhered to the culture of China, spoke Mandarin, and ate Chinese food. As for the people of the Straits, most of them were already completely westernized. They did not even acknowledge their own Mandarin, which was also known as the banana people with yellow skin and white hearts. Pang Jinting said to Zhou Hao, the members of our Chamber of Commerce only marry the people of China to maintain our bloodline. At home, we teach our sons Mandarin, learn ancient languages, study the history of China, and remember that we are the descendants of China. Zhou Hao was very emotional. Although with the development of time, the ratio of traditional Chinese and Straits to foreigners was more and more inclined towards the Straits, there were still many people who adhered to the culture of China. Brother Zhou, do you know why the Indonesian government is constantly creating Xinhua incidents? Pang Jinting suddenly asked. Zhou Hao sighed and said, because after killing the owners of those companies, the Indonesian government can officially accept their properties. Those B***stards are ruthless. That's right. Pang Jinting looked at Zhou Hao with a bright light in his eyes, as if he had met a rare confidant. In order to take over our property, they did not hesitate to encourage the people to kill the Indonesian people, especially those wealthy people who have properties and savings. Those thugs. Zhou Hao knew that in all the incidents in Indonesia, the victims were often the owners of the small businesses in Indonesia. Those who lived in poverty and did not have a constant source of income were safer. This was because the Indonesian government wanted to take the opportunity to accept the properties and savings of the small businesses in Indonesia. Their intentions were despicable and despicable. For so many years, we have been fighting for it. Pang Jinting said, we want to obtain a certain amount of political power. This way, we can have some ability to protect ourselves when the Indonesian people are attacked. However, that old B***starred Suharto still refused to give us power, not only political power, but also civil rights like the other Indonesian people. In the eyes of that old B***starred Suharto, we are no different from dogs. We can be slaughtered by him. Pang Jinting said, you also know that Suharto came from a military background. Ever since Suharto came to power, the military, led by him, has been involved in Indonesia's politics and economy. Up until now, the 27 ministers of the Indonesian cabinet are the generals of the military. Of the 26 provinces in the country, 22 of them are the generals of the military. Also, every village chief, or village leader in Indonesia were all soldiers. Most of the managers of Indonesian state-owned enterprises were either colonel or generals. Suharto has already made Indonesia a military-oriented country. Zhou Hao said, as a bystander, my suggestion for you is to leave Indonesia. But I also know that you have lived there for hundreds of years. It is easier said than done to leave. After the 98 years in his previous life, many people in the country were wondering why the Indonesian people were being persecuted over and over again, but they did not leave Indonesia. However, Zhou Hao knew that many people in China had the concept of root. Although Indonesia was a foreign land to the local people, They had lived there for hundreds of years and had taken root there. Peng Jinting sighed and said, "Actually, some of us also want to migrate, but many countries only want us, who are rich. For example, we went to Singapore to negotiate, but they said that if we wanted a green card, the entry fee would be 1 million. We can afford it, but what about the other small owners?" Zhou Hao also knew about this. After the 1998 incident in Indonesia, Singapore welcomed Indonesian immigrants to take refuge. However, with Li Guangyao as the leader, the Singapore government set the threshold at 1 million. They welcomed Indonesian immigrants to Singapore, but only the wealthy Indonesian people. Zhou Hao was very touched that Peng Jinting, who was rich but had the spirit of his other compatriots. When Wang Zhonglei heard the conversation between Peng Jinting and Zhou Hao, his heart also felt heavy. Although Indonesia was on the other side of the ocean, those were the descendants of the fiery emperor who shared the same bloodline as him. Seeing them get hurt made Wang Zhonglei's heart feel bad. Seeing the heavy atmosphere, Peng Jinting smiled and said, "Hee, let's not talk about such depressing things. I still don't know, Brother Zhou. How did you and this little girl get to know Commander Zhu? Could it be that you are a relative of Commander Zhu?" Peng Jinting knew that the relationship between Zhu Yongquan and Zhu Yongquan was definitely not simple. Zhao Yuqin smiled and said, "Brother Zhu used to be my father's subordinate and also my father's disciple. Brother Zhu treats me like his own sister." Peng Jinting was shocked when he heard this. Although it had been several decades since he stepped foot into China, he also roughly knew about the military situation in China. To be able to be the head of the Nanjing military, he was already a high-ranking general who held great power. Zhao Yuqin's father was also the old leader of Zhu Yongquan. It seemed that Zhao Yuqin's father must be an extraordinary person. It was very likely that he was already a big official in the central government. He thought about the big official with the surname Zhao in the central government. Peng Jinting was suddenly shocked. He looked at Zhao Yuqin in surprise and asked tentatively, "Little girl, is your father Zhao Rixin, General Zhao?" Zhao Yuqin smiled reservedly. "He is my father." Peng Jinting took a deep breath. He naturally knew how important Zhao Rixin was, but he did not expect this beauty in front of him to be Zhao Rixin's daughter. "So it's the daughter of General Zhao. My apologies, my apologies." Peng Jinting said to Zhao Yuqin with a smile. "Elder Peng, you flatter me." Zhao Yuqin still had the same smile on her face. At this time, Zhou Hao said, "Elder Peng, I think that if Indonesia really had another economic crisis, the Han people would definitely become the sacrifices of Suharto and the rest. Elder Peng, if I say that I can help the Indonesian people get out of their current predicament and raise their social status, but I need the cooperation of the Chamber of Commerce, will you support me?" Peng Jinting wasn't excited by Zhou Hao's words. Instead, he frowned deeply. Getting rid of the predicament of Indonesian men and raising the social status of Indonesian men, Peng Jinting and the Chamber of Commerce had worked hard for decades, but they still could not do it. Peng Jinting did not believe that Zhou Hao, a young man with a weak crown, could do it, even if he had a close relationship with the Zhao family. Seeing Peng Jinting's reaction, Zhou Hao could guess that he didn't believe his words. However, Zhou Hao was not anxious nor angry. Instead, he smiled and said, "Elder Peng, since the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce helped Suharto and his family deal with the huge amount of money, you must have a lot of evidence about Suharto's corruption?" Peng Jinting snorted. In fact, Suharto's corruption is not a secret, but he controls the Indonesian army and is also a dictator. No one dares to expose him. We do have a lot of information and evidence, but what's the use of that? Before Suharto's powerful political and military strength, these evidence is useless. Zhou Hao leaned back in the chair and smiled at Peng Jinting. "Elder Peng, you are very familiar with Indonesia's situation, so I think you should know that Suharto is not popular at the moment. Due to the military's interference in politics and economics, the harm caused by it has caused the Indonesian people to hate it deeply." He stretched out his index finger and said, "If what I said becomes the truth, Indonesia will really become the starting point of the second wave of financial storms. Then, with the rapid decline of the economy, the Indonesian people will definitely be dissatisfied with Suharto and the government." This was also the main reason why Suharto wanted to divert the attention of the people through the Zheshio incident. At that time, if all the evidence of Suharto and his family's corruption is exposed, Suharto will have no hope of staying. He will have to step down. Zhou Hao said. Peng Jinting agreed with what Zhou Hao said. If what Zhou Hao said really happened, Suharto would most likely be kicked out of the position. He said, however, even if Suharto leaves the stage, isn't the person who takes over the position of president those people who hate the Han people? In the Indonesian political circles and the military, none of them hold any goodwill towards China. Zhou Hao nodded. The situation that Peng Jinting had mentioned did exist. In his previous life, when Suharto stepped down from the throne, Indonesian politics and the military had been plotting against each other to fight for the position of president, especially the military, which had a huge influence in Indonesia. Finally, the one who represented Suharto was his son-in-law. He was the commander of the Army's Strategic Reserve Force, the former commander of the Special Forces, Lieutenant General Prabowo. In that 1998 Tanhua incident, it was Prabowo who wanted to fight for the position of president and tried to create chaos, causing the general commander of the armed forces, Wiranto, to be unable to restore the security of the capital. This way, Prabowo could force Suharto to announce military control and let him take control of the situation. At the same time, this could also give Suharto's political opponents and also make it difficult for Suharto's adopted son, Hubby. Prabowo, Wiranto, and Habibie were not politicians who had a close relationship with the people of China. If they were allowed to control Indonesia's regime, the situation of the people of China would not improve at all. Especially Prabowo. If he was given power, his days in China would be even more difficult. Zhou Hao asked Peng Jinting, Elder Peng, if Suharto leaves the position, who do you think will be the most likely to take over the position of president? Peng Jinting stretched out 4 fingers. There are 4 people who are most likely to take over as president. First is Wiranto and Prabowo. Wiranto is the commander-in-chief of the Indonesian Armed Forces, while Prabowo is the commander-in-chief of the Army's Strategic Reserve Force. At the same time, he is also Suharto's son-in-law. These 2 people have a lot of influence in the military. I think that although Wiranto is young, his ambition and shrewdness are very deep. If he takes over the position of president, he will probably become the second Suharto. Let alone Prabowo, if he becomes the president, he will be even more brutal than Suharto. The third one is the daughter of the former president, Sugiro, Megawati. Although she is a woman, her means of dealing with interpersonal relationships and creating a personal image are very outstanding. Peng Jinting said, as for the last one, it is Suharto's adopted son, Habibie. The reason why he has the opportunity to fight for the position of president is not because he has outstanding personal abilities. Instead, it's because he doesn't have any abilities and his personality is weak. That's why those people in the cabinet want to control him to take the position of president and use him as a puppet. Zhou Hao also had a certain understanding of Megawati. This strong woman was Indonesia's 5th president and was very popular in Indonesia. However, Zhou Hao did not care about Megawati. At least at this stage, Megawati did not have the courage to clean up the mess that Suharto left behind, nor did he have the strength to suppress Indonesia's military. When she took over Wahid's position as the 5th Indonesian president, after Wahid's baptism, the Indonesian military had become much weaker. According to the development of her previous life, Habibie would take over Suharto's position as the president of Indonesia, destroying Prabowo's dream of becoming the president. However, Habibie had become a string doll for Wiranto. After that, Wahid, who had suddenly risen up, defeated Wiranto and became the 4th president of Indonesia. In Zhou Hao's mind, Wahid was the most suitable candidate to become Indonesia's president. This was because Wahid treated the people of China better than the others. After he got on the stage, he abolished many exclusion policies and allowed the Indonesian people to reply to his name in Mandarin. He was known as the savior of the Indonesian people. Furthermore, Wahid's ancestor was also a Chinese. Zhou Hao obviously did not think that Wahid being kind to the Indonesian people was a selfless act. All politicians were not selfless. They were all doing it to achieve their own goals. He even wondered if Wahid abolished the anti-Hua policy because he wanted to get help from the Chamber of Commerce. If that was the case, then the Huang's Chamber of Commerce might have already made contact with Wahid. Therefore, Zhou Hao immediately asked Peng Jinting, Elder Peng, do you know a person called Wahid? Wahid, Peng Jinting said, I do know a Wahid. He is the chairman of the Indonesian Teachers Association. He is also a member of the Indonesian People's Consultation Conference. Zhou Hao nodded. That's him. Peng Jinting was puzzled. Brother Zhou, do you know him? I have heard of him, and I also know that he has a very high reputation among Indonesian Islam, Zhou Hao said. Peng Jinting nodded and said, Brother Zhou, I will not hide it from you. In fact, this Wahid is one of the many politicians that our Chamber of Commerce deliberately roped in. He was able to become the chairman of the Islam Teaching Association previously, and it was also our Chamber of Commerce that contributed a lot. Zhou Hao was also surprised when he heard this. Peng Jinting and the others had indeed gotten in touch with Wahid. But now it seemed that Peng Jinting and the others did not attach much importance to Wahid. They just treated him as a politician that could be roped in. Zhou Hao did not plan to tell Peng Jinting about Wahid becoming the president of Indonesia because of this foresight. But his advantage was that Zhou Hao wanted to use this foresight to maximize his own benefits. Elder Peng, let's not talk about this for now. Now we all have a common understanding. The financial storm will attack Indonesia once again. At that time, Indonesia's economy will definitely collapse. If that's the case, shouldn't we plan ahead and obtain the greatest benefits from it? Zhou Hao said with a smile. Peng Jinting said with interest. Brother Zhou, what do you think? My thoughts? Hee hee, I don't deserve it. Zhou Hao laughed. But I predict that when the financial storm blows over Indonesia again, not only will Indonesia's stock market fall, Indonesia's shield will also completely collapse. So, I want to add 2 fires and use Indonesia's shield's exchange rate to profit. I won't hide it from you, Elder Peng. I have already borrowed a large amount of Indonesian shields from Indonesia's banks through operation and have gradually converted them into US dollars. Peng Jinting raised his eyebrows. If Indonesia's shields really fell, then Zhou Hao would be able to obtain a huge profit from it. And most of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce's funds were in USD, not the Indonesian shield. Because compared to Indonesia's shield, USD was more secure. So even if Indonesia's shield fell, it would not have much of an impact on Peng Jinting and the others. However, Peng Jinting also had a bank under his banner. If Indonesia's shield fell, he would suffer heavy losses. Zhou Hao said, Elder Peng, if you also run a bank in Indonesia, I advise you to exchange all your savings into US dollars. At the same time, loan Indonesia shields to other banks and convert them into US dollars. This way, when Indonesia shields falls, not only will you not suffer any losses, you will also be able to earn a large sum. Peng Jinting frowned. But if that is the case, doesn't it mean that you have taken all the money from the Indonesian people? Zhou Hao shook his head and said, I believe that most of the people who deposit money in your bank are Indonesian people. Think about it. If your bank loses a lot of money, won't they be the ones to suffer in the end? You are protecting them like this. As for the other Indonesian people, even if we don't do anything, we can't stop the financial storm. We might as well make the most out of it. Besides, isn't your China Chamber of Commerce still investing in the local areas? With more money, you can rebuild your society better. Zhou Hao sneered. Besides, didn't the Indonesians say that the Indonesian controlled their economy? Then let's just do as they wish and control their economy. If we want to obtain political power or even military power, we will need money. Zhou Hao said to Peng Jinting, Elder Peng, you should know that Soros and his group of investors have transferred their money to Southeast Asia. Their funds are as high as hundreds of billions of dollars. However, most of them did not place their main power in Indonesia. This has provided us with a lot of space. Peng Jinting frowned and said, But, can you really be sure that the second wave of the financial storm will start in Indonesia? So what if it isn't? Zhou Hao smiled and said, Is the current situation in Indonesia very good? I think many banks in Indonesia have been squeezed. Those foreign banks also do not accept the credit certificates issued by Indonesia banks. Elder Peng, the Indonesian shield is just like this glass. It's very fragile and only needs to be knocked lightly. He took a teaspoon and lightly knocked on the wine glass in front of him. A crack immediately appeared on the edge of the wine glass, and then the crack quickly spread. In the end, the entire wine glass shattered into pieces. Peng Jinting raised his eyebrows, and then he heard Zhou Hao laugh. Your Indonesian Chamber of Commerce can mobilize tens of billions of USD, and I have already invested nearly 10 billion US dollars in Indonesia. If we add them in pairs, even if the second wave of the financial storm does not start in Indonesia, we can still artificially create this storm. Elder Peng, we can create a financial storm like Soros and Julian. Zhou Hao's voice carried a very provocative charm, which made Peng Jinting, who had experienced decades of glory and waves, shake with excitement. On the other side, Wang Zhonglei took a deep breath in his heart. He thought to himself, our boss is too bold. He created a financial storm with his own hands. What kind of magnificent feat is that? Furthermore, when he heard Zhou Hao say that he had invested tens of billions of dollars in Indonesia, Wang Zhonglei was shocked. He and Wang Zhongjuan were only in charge of the Polar North Media Group. They did not know much about Zhou Hao's other businesses. Before this, they only thought that Zhou Hao was very rich. Creating a television station and buying a communications satellite, this was not something that everyone had. When Wang Zhonglei heard that Zhou Hao had invested tens of billions of dollars in Indonesia, he finally understood how powerful Zhou Hao was. In fact, before the first wave of financial storms in July 1997, Zhou Hao had already invested more than $2 billion in the various state-owned banks in Indonesia to loan large amounts of Indonesian shields. Then, When the funds that Zhou Hao had invested in other places returned to his hands, Zhou Hao transferred the money back to Indonesia. So far, Zhou Hao had invested nearly 10 billion US dollars in Indonesia. Pang Jinting frowned and said, but in this way, all the assets in Indonesia, including many Chinese people, have been seized by us. Zhou Hao sneered and said, if we don't do it, they will be able to keep their assets. If the second wave of the financial storm really broke out in Indonesia, then there will be a new round of Tsinghua University conflict. Elder Pang, do you think the Indonesian government will let go of these sheep after losing a large sum of money? At that time, not only will they take away their property, but their lives will also be in danger. Seeing Pang Jinting's tempted expression, Zhou Hao quickly continued, Elder Pang, we are now targeting the Indonesian military and government. Rather than letting them take all the money, it would be better if it ended up in the hands of your Huangs. At least you can use your investment to give back to the Huangs. Moreover, we can also use this opportunity to kick Suharto out of the office and gain some power in the Indonesian government. This way, we can better protect the Indonesian people. Elder Pang, isn't this your dream all along? Zhou Hao kept urging Pang Jinting. After a long time, Pang Jinting said, Brother Zhou, this matter is of great importance. I need to think about it. After all, although I am the president of the Chamber of Commerce, but the Chamber of Commerce is not my word. Zhou Hao crossed his arms and smiled. Of course, but Elder Pang, I need to emphasize that this is a very rare opportunity. If you miss it, you will miss it. Whether you can get involved in Indonesia's politics or even the military will depend on this time. Brother Zhou, I still need to ask for their opinion, Pang Jinting said to Zhou Hao, but don't worry. I will give you an answer as soon as possible. Zhou Hao stretched out 3 fingers. 3 days. You must make a decision within 3 days. Otherwise, it will be meaningless. Pang Jinting nodded solemnly. Next, he could not eat and chat with Zhou Hao anymore. He made the best use of his time to go back and discuss Zhou Hao's suggestion with the staff of Indonesian Huawu Chamber of Commerce. After Pang Jinting left, Zhou Hao also said to Zhao Yuqin, Sister, it seems that we need to go to Beijing as soon as possible. There are some things that I need the help of the country to complete. Zhao Yuqin said, You really want to interfere in Indonesia's politics? Zhou Hao shook his head. I am not intervening. I just want to do something that is within my ability. I cannot watch my compatriots being slaughtered without doing anything. In his previous life, Zhou Hao did not have the ability to do anything for the 1998 Tsinghua University incident. Since he had this opportunity in his life, Zhou Hao naturally would not stand idly by. On the other side, Wang Zhonglei was sitting upright, not daring to say anything, because he knew that what Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin said had already involved the scope of national secrets. Since Zhou Hao did not let him go out, he expressed his trust in him. Since those Indonesian guys said that China controlled their economy, then I will just do as they wish. Zhou Hao's eyes lit up. I not only want China to have influence in Indonesia's economy, but I also want China to become the leader of Indonesia's economy. Of course in this, I must not lose my share. Zhao Yuqin smiled and said, I think this is your biggest motive. Zhou Hao held Zhao Yuqin's hand and said, Haha, sister knows me best. After that, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin stayed in Hengdian for a night, and then flew to Beijing. Before leaving Hengdian, Zhou Hao met Han Shixiang again. He said to Han Shixiang, if you really can't stay in Hengdian group, come and find me. You have my number, you can contact me at any time. Han Shixiang was very grateful to Zhou Hao for cleaning the bed and waiting for him, but because he was grateful for Su Wenrong's kindness, he would not leave Hengdian group for the time being. When they reached Beijing, Zhou Hao followed Zhao Yuqin to the Zhao family residence as usual. It was supposed to be a work day, but Yin Xining, who was working in the hospital, stayed at home to wait for Zhou Hao's arrival. Even Zhao Rixin, the leader of the country, rejected a ministerial reception for Zhou Hao, which made Zhou Hao very flattered. They hadn't seen each other for less than half a year. Zhao Rixin and Yin Xining's health and spirit were much better than the last time they saw each other. They looked radiant. They didn't look like people in their 60s who looked like they were in their 50s. Especially Zhao Rixin, who was the leader of the country. That heavy work was a huge burden to him. Before this, he had been worrying about the country and the people all day long. Adding on the aftereffects of his early years on the battlefield, Zhao Rixin, who was in his 60s, had a head full of white hair as if he was 70 or 80 years old. In the past year, the old couple had insisted on taking the healthcare prescription that Zhou Hao had given them, and their bodies had become better and better. Godfather, I think you are getting younger and younger. Zhou Hao smiled and said when he saw Zhao Rixin's radiant face. Humph, humph, brat. You are changing your appearance and saying that my old man is getting livelier and younger. Zhao Rixin scolded with a smile. Yin Xining, who was beside him, said with a warm smile, Xiao Hao, those pharmacies of yours are really amazing. That old man's hair has turned black. The people below all think that he used a hair dye. Xiao Hao, there is one thing that I am very sorry about. Zhao Rixin suddenly said to Zhou Hao, you gave us the healthcare prescription, and I also gave the chairman and the prime minister a copy. After all, they are not young anymore, and their health is not much better than mine. Because Zhou Hao had previously said that this pharmacy should not be passed on to outsiders. Zhou Hao quickly smiled and said, it's okay. The chairman and the prime minister are good leaders who worry about the country and the people. If their health is better, it will be more beneficial to the country. This is equivalent to me contributing to the country. How can I blame you, Godfather? Zhao Rixin nodded repeatedly when he heard that.